talk about sweetness itself. And he told us, watch out for the ACC.
Yep.
Remember how emphatic Jim Larinaga was when he came on the show last week, and he said, you know what? I've never heard him express this kind of anger.
Frustration for sure, yep.
Wow. That the ACC was being dissed by the NCAA committee. And what do they know, right? He's orchestrated the Hurricanes into one of the Cinderella stories now, only eclipsed maybe by St. Peter's. You believed in this team, Jim Larinaga, and the ACC, and congratulations. How much fun is this?
Pow! Right to the moon.
He was dancing. That was great.
That's Jackie Gleason there, Defo. And that's what the ACC has done. Pow! Right to the moon with the three teams in the Sweet 16.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good Monday morning, everybody. Starting another week here on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest and one Mike Lubitz, although Lubie scared me. He had bodily function he had to perform and just made it to the podium here right before post time. It happens, though, and there's not a lot of time in between during the breaks in this show because we just come right at you the entire time. And I'd like to give you as much content as we can. And so, I got a little nervous there because I'm looking at a blank screen right up until 6:59:50. You pulled a Phil Shane, the famous soccer announcer, who was known as 5950 because he used to do these sports updates a long time ago on a radio station I was working at, and literally would come through the door at 59:50 to get on the air and straight up at the top of the hour. In this case, it was like 6 a.m. Here we are at 7. Not a tough post time to make, but then again, it does compromise your sleep a little bit. Hope everybody's well rested and ready for a big week. Fantastic weekend. If you happen to be a South Florida resident, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners are, then we had probably the most spectacular weather anywhere in the country and possibly anywhere in the world the last couple of days. And it looks like it's going to be more of the same with escalating climb and temperature as we get through the week. But it's only going to get into like the mid-80s by the end of the week, which still is okay. It's not the blast furnace that South Florida tends to be in the summertime. So we still have a little bit of time left before we have to go into that summertime and the people are schwitzing. But if you're anywhere else in the country, anywhere else around the world, you would have wanted to be in South Florida over the weekend. A spectacular weekend here, and many controversies, of course, taking place. The Spring Breakers managed to bust up South Beach a couple of weeks ago. Bust up is a bad way of putting it. I mean, people were shooting at each other. It was absolutely crazy, and the politicians reacted. I don't know. Do you think it was a good idea? I mean, shut this thing down at midnight? I know it hurt a lot of businesses, and they all wait for this time of the year, and a lot of these places make a good percentage of their money during the month of March, like a significant portion. You would think it would be like 1/12, but it's not. It's probably like 35% of their annual take comes this month when all these people are in town, and certainly the South Beach area, which I'm not really a South Beach guy, Lubie. I have almost 0.0 desire to head down to South Beach. I don't know about you. You probably would be more hip to that, although you were more likely to be one of the 55 to 60,000 people that was at that crazy electronic music festival.
I would have
to that, didn't you?
I've gone there 3 times. I love Ultra. I did not go this year. We were up in Tampa for my cousin's kid's bar mitzvah. But
you really went to a bar mitzvah this weekend? That's fantastic. I mean, that would be like my standard joke. Like, hey, where were you? At a bar mitzvah? And you were.
I was at a bar mitzvah.
Fantastic, man. Did they have the little knishes? Was that really that's the key to any bar mitzvah, the little knishes?
They had knishes. They had corn dogs for the kids. So no hot dog, but corn dogs, mini corn dogs. So it was like that pigs in a blanket.
Yeah, it's a big mistake. You got to get the hot dog and a little pastry. Yeah, that's the way to go. What are those called? Does anybody know, or are they just
pigs in a blanket? They're called pigs in a blanket. That's the name.
Pigs in a blanket. Yeah. All right. I love those, by the way. You dip them in the mustard. You have to have the right mustard. You have to have some kind of spicy mustard. Yeah, something Gouldens, or maybe even an upgrade in terms of the amount of heat that you get from that. Now, do they have kash and potato, or just potato and a little knishes?
Just had the little potato knish. Yeah, they didn't have kash. You wouldn't find that in Tampa.
You notice I'm trying to avoid diving into the ugliness of that second half of the Hurricanes game. We love Jim Larinaga. We'll try and get him back on the show to give a little postscript on what happened with his Hurricane team.
They beat any expectation that even they could have had. The Elite Eight, the fact that they went and won again to get to the 8s was amazing. Like, that's nuts.
Think about this, though. I mean, from the gambling aspect, you're getting 6.5 points with the Hurricanes. Maybe you bought into the whole Cinderella ride. Did Kansas seem to be invincible? I don't know. I didn't really see their first couple of games. I mean, obviously, they've been a very good team all season long. They wouldn't be a number one seed without that. Bill Self always has a very respectable program. And, wow, I'm going to go with hair weave on that, Lubie. I don't know that it's a piece, per se. We played piece or no piece, which is trying to figure out if the guy's wearing a hairpiece or not. Now, I was at a bar yesterday after I played tennis with my son in the morning, a place called Galumpi's, a local place. It's outside. It's kind of nice, to sit out there. And, wow, I mean, the people of Pompano Beach, whoever is selling the hairpieces here is really just robbing people blind or assuming that they are blind because why not just stick a muskrat or a dead squirrel on your head? What is the point of wearing something that looks so stupid, so obvious, so apparent? And I understand. Look, I'm not being insensitive. People, contract cancer or whatever, and they lose all their hair, and they stick something on their head. Hey, look what happened last night. And this was, because of a disease that Chris Rock made that joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. And she suffers from, I think it's called alopecia, which it causes hair loss and, can affect women in that way. And so she shaved her head. And, there was a joke made by Chris Rock. I think he said that she could be in like G.I. Jane.
Too.
Which Demi Moore shaved her head, and that was like a big deal at the time for that movie. And, and it was a totally unbelievable, far-fetched movie anyway. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous that this criminal, drill sergeant was treating a woman like that, and that she was able to survive it all and ultimately ended up being a hero. I mean, just a really stupid movie, G.I. Jane.
Really bad, yes.
I mean, it was right up there with the final 45 minutes of $1 Million Baby, wasn't it? Where you're standing up in a theater screaming at the screen, "Die already! Just die! Please go away! End this thing! I want to go! I'm out of popcorn! I mean, really, I got to get out of here! I can't watch this anymore." Clint Eastwood sitting over the bed there.
Yeah, she's done. She's done. Like, what are we waiting for?
And who reffed that fight, by the way, in $1 Million Baby? The last fight?
That's never happened. Like, that's my problem is it's not a spoof movie. So it's like you could see the chairs there. Like, who would continue the round?
I mean,
There's so many people there that it would have gotten taken out. Like, but I had seen that movie when it was already well known, so I didn't understand what the big deal was. And I'm watching it going, why is a chair there? Like, you can see the chairs there. Like, I'm like,
I mean, not even Steve Smoger would have allowed that fight to continue under those circumstances. Would have disqualified the evil woman and $1 Million Baby, Hillary Swank, would have still been alive and everything would have been fine. And that would have been that, right? The movie would have ended on a more positive note.
Exactly.
She gets disqualified. Swank wins the title, beats her arch rival or whoever it was, this evil. She reminded me, I guess, the UFC fighter. I'm not sure if she's UFC. She might be in another organization, but Chris Cyborg.
Oh, Cyborg.
Oh my God! When I first saw her on TV, she was with one of the Strike Force. I think was like the minor league organization of the UFC.
Right on.
And they developed Rowdy Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. They developed a few of the women that moved into the UFC, because remember, Dana White was totally opposed to it till he realized that the $1 Million Baby was Rowdy Ronda Rousey. And once he realized what a money machine she could be, he started, oh, yeah, we welcome women. I tell you what, we're all about diversity here. Sure, Dana.
Okay, bud.
How real is that thing when Dana White separates the two fighters at the press conference, right? When he has to stand in between there like, oh, my God, they might go at each other. Although your man Jorge Masvidal, who we met on Radio Row, I mean, he just got popped because he hit that guy in a restaurant, speaking of South Beach. Kobe Covington or something like that. Is it Kobe or Colby? Something like that.
You know more than me. I don't know.
His arch rival, yeah. See, it used to be the UFC guy on the show, and now it's me, Lubie.
Yeah.
Now it's me. I don't. What are you doing besides going to bar mitzvahs? Are you following sports anymore?
I follow sports. I don't follow UFC and soccer. Jim really gives me a lot of crap that I mock the lack of soccer.
Oh, you're talking about our man Jim Sarney.
Jim Sarney gives me a lot of crap every day on Facebook now. He's like, what about the UFC team? I'm like, what team?
He follows everything, though. I mean, and I respect that. I really do. I love Jim Sarney, and I like the fact a well-rounded sports fan. It's one of the reasons we like having Harvey on the show, although he's obsessed with the Yankees. And did you see this yesterday, by the way, before we get into this basketball stuff? All of these big stars hit like 2 home runs in spring training games. Lindor for the Mets, 2 home
Oh,
runs. Bryce Harper for the Phillies had 2 home runs in a game and going like 3 for 4. And the big man himself, Aaron Judge, 2 dingers. There was another guy who had 2 home runs in spring training. So they're bombing them out of the park. The pitchers are usually ahead of the hitters at this point.
Yeah.
But now it's the hitters well ahead of the pitchers.
There you go.
But all of the big stars were looking good. And Lindor bouncing back for the Mets would be a big, big deal. All of you Met fans out there, I mean, how disappointing was Francisco Lindor last year? As the maitre d' at the Dharma Grab restaurant used to say, as he was putting a table of farmers on your section there, he would just hand you the check and say, "Such ugliness."
Yeah, he was
And you're
rough.
like, such ugliness. All right, so you're up 6.5 points on the spread, and you're up 6 points at halftime after a nice 9-2 run. They do, the ridiculous halftime interview of the coach as he's leaving. But Larinaga so great, so gracious. He actually says something, and you're thinking, Jim, I mean, it's time to just break out the dancing shoes, man. We're going to the Final Four with this Hurricane basketball team. Cinderella story is going to be completed, and let's face it. I mean, you were waiting for St. Peter's to get knocked out. They go against North Carolina, who I told you, Lubie. I mean, they're a Jekyll and Hyde act.
Yep.
But mostly Jekyll.
Yeah.
Right? They're mostly Jekyll. They've been playing really good basketball, and then they'll throw in a stinker like they did against Virginia Tech when they lost in the ACC tournament.
Yep.
And, maybe that's characteristic of all the teams that are at the top of college basketball or were at the top this year. I mean, we saw Purdue go down in an ugly fashion to a St. Peter's team that nobody expected would win that game. And that busted up my son's Jesse's bracket. He had Purdue winning it all.
Oh, wow.
Based on the fact that we were talking and he asked me about some game, and I said, no, Purdue's a pretty good team. They were like number 1 in the country for a while.
Yep.
So he used them to go all the way, and then, of course, they get knocked out by Cinderella.
St. Peter's.
Shows you what I know. How the hell did St. Peter's win these games? I mean, are you kidding me? What did they have that would make you think, except for my favorite player in the tournament, of course, was Defo.
Yes.
I think it's Defo, but
call him Defo. They call him what everyone calls you, but that's not really how we pronounce your radio nickname. In Defo.
This is how sick and egomaniacal I might actually be. I was waiting for Ian Eagle to reference me.
Yes, I thought he would.
Every time he mentioned Defo.
That's so funny. I was waiting for him.
You were thinking that? Yeah, then he might say, yeah, well, not to be confused with my friend Defo, the radio TV guy down there in South Florida that I enjoy going on the show.
He did all their games, so he kept saying Defo. I'm like, oh my God, it's coming. He's going to do it. No, not the track, or just some kind of a reference, a nod and a wink to you and me. Like, I really thought he would do some kind of a wink nod, because he's Ian. Like, Ian will do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never caught
Maybe if we had some kind of prearranged thing, with a little money riding on it, he might have done it. Highest of praise for Ian Eagle and his work came from Mike Vaccaro in the New York Post, who had his Vax Wax column on Sunday. And one of the first items that he had at the very top of the right, where he goes into like these sort of little, thumbnail things, or whatever you would call them. What would you call those? Where they had like the little short takes? I used to know.
I don't know. Quick hitters? I don't know.
There's a journalistic term for it. Leslie Visser's going to just crucify me for blanking on this, because I used to, a tidbits column. That's what they call it. A tidbits column, yeah. Where they have like little tidbits. And actually one of the great columns of all time was, and I've referenced this before, the guy was with the LA Herald Examiner. He was a sports editor there and featured in a bunch of movies. Alan Malamud had a column that he called Notes on a Scorecard, and it was all tidbits, but it was really, really good. I mean, the way that he did it, because he got into a lot of different stuff. And, it's just a perfect fit for reading on the throne when you were living in Los Angeles at the time. But, the first item in Vaccaro's kind of tidbits section of his column, he usually has like a basic column, his main column, and then a bunch of tidbits around it. Some reaction and letters from fans, and some items that he just chooses to talk about in a very short form. And the first one was that Ian Eagle should be assigned by CBS to virtually everything.
Yeah, the best.
That is way out there, the best. And he was working with Jim Spanarkel, who was a color analyst that a lot of people really dig and have had high praise for. But he's a kind of color analyst because he's not a big name like an A-Rod or somebody like that says nothing
Yep.
that even though he is really giving you the scoop and some excellent insight into what's going on with the team and what's happening on the floor, and really illuminates, it does exactly as John Feinstein was talking about on the show the other day.
Yep.
I think, what was that? Was that Friday's show or Thursday that we had
Thursday.
John Feinstein on? And he was saying, I like to give things about the players and, different stuff. Almost anybody can sit there and diagram X's and O's. And there really isn't that much happening in these games except, dribble, drive, penetration, and kick it out to a guy for a contested three. I mean, what's happened to basketball? And they're running a weave at the top. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Remember that? That was like the first play I remember learning, and like you could see Bob Cousy orchestrating this thing.
I
The
hate
weave at the top. I don't know. I mean, so when you think about it, there aren't that many plays in basketball, period, are there?
No, we've talked about that.
It's not like, you have to go through the Kansas City Chiefs playbook. Figure out what the hell is going on there. Hey, Andy, how many of these things did you draw up? There's only a couple of things. There are only a couple of things that you can do in a basketball game. But unfortunately, in the second half, now we're up 6. I say we because now I'm so entrenched in this Larinaga mania that we've created here on the show. And look, you can't possibly have any kind of criticism about what happened there. That they weren't a very good team last year, had all kinds of different problems. A lot of people were questioning actually whether Larinaga still should be coaching the team. Can you imagine that? Actually, there was less of that than the fact that people just flat out didn't care.
They didn't care. I was going to say that. You didn't have a lot of the dissension because people just didn't give a damn.
Nobody cared, right? I mean, hey, is Jim Larinaga still coaching a team? Yes, of course he is. And wow, what a tremendous run. And he couldn't have made any more of a gracious presence of himself all throughout the tournament. Bryant Gumbel had to cut him off. Did you see that?
No.
Felt bad. Well, I guess, Gumbel was probably, having some guy screaming in his ear, finish this already and go to a break.
Oh, Greg Gumbel?
Greg Gumbel, not Brian Gumbel.
Like Brian,
I have Brian on the mind because he was mentioned in some hideous fashion in a Phil Mushnick column that I was reading over the weekend, talking about what a just blatant hypocrite he is when it comes to issues of race. All right. Okay. And he had an example of it that was, you're looking at it going, hey, you know what, Phil, you got a point there. This Brian Gumbel is a real fraud. But Greg Gumbel seems to be a very likable Gumbel, does he not? I mean, how do you not like Greg Gumbel? He has a good personality, comes across very well on the tube, very enthusiastic about college basketball. I don't know. Has he seen a game this year, Greg Gumbel? Do you think he actually watches this stuff?
He does this all year. So, yes, he actually has. Charles, probably not. But
Barkley has no idea, where the schools are, who they are, who the coaches are.
He embraces it now, too. He doesn't even pretend.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk in generalities about basketball, just get Charles Barkley on the set of one of those college basketball analyst desks. Where do you really need 6 guys? Honestly, Lubie, do you need 6 guys to tell you what the hell happened in the first half of that game?
What do you mean? They have 2 sets now. One has 4 and the other has 6. It's like, why do you need 10 people to tell me what I knew? Like, that's the one thing I can tell you. I don't know about football, but basketball, I knew everything I needed to know by like 10 or 11. So, like,
football too. What happens in a football game that's so scientific? Really, Lubie?
There's a lot of.
When have you ever seen anything you said, "My God, who the hell drew that play up"? It's all the same. You run the ball, you pass the ball. Hopefully, a bunch of fat guys up front are able to block the ferocious defenders that are coming at you like a bunch of rabid dogs, foaming at the mouth. And if they can, you're in business. Which, by the way, Jack and Jimmy will join us later for a little Dateline Dolphins, and the Dolphins very much in the news with the moves that they made in the offseason. And you know what happened with that, Lubie? I think they finally got me. They got me. The Dolphins have me thinking that maybe they're actually on the right track.
I mean, they have to. They've made every move. Look, they're still in the works for either Matthew or a center. Like, they're still trying. I can't even. I don't
know. What else they need. I mean, you're looking at an offense that should be brilliant this year. Absolutely brilliant. 2 are notwithstanding. I believe that if the sum is never the whole is never greater than the sum of its parts. The whole is never greater than the sum of its parts. But the whole in this case might be no longer Tua Tagovailoa, as in HOLE. He might not be the whole in the lineup because I don't know how you could not be able to deliver with the people that they surrounded him with. And so you could take a quarterback that is mediocre at best, with a so-so lineup and a lack of protection and maybe, some backwards thinking in terms of how to run the offense because the coach hates the quarterback and doesn't want him to do anything. In fact, he doesn't even want to play him. He wants Fitzpatrick back. But they got me. I have to, pass this along to John Congemi when he joins us here. I mean, all the stupid moves. All the bozoic people they've had in the front office, the advice that Stephen Ross was getting from Carl Peterson, who had every intent of burying this franchise with whatever decisions that he was passing along that should be made. And then we have this whole thing with Tannenbaum and Chris Greer and Flores and a series of clown coaches, Adam Gase, all of this stuff that they tried to sell us over the last 20 years since Danny Boy retired. Is just, so full of holes, so full of nonsense, so full of ugliness that it became impossible to believe that they would turn it around. And then they blew the tank job, completely blew it. I mean, absolutely wasted the whole concept of tanking. And as hideous as it is, and as despicable as it is to have your team in a tanking mode,
at least do it.
You people out there, you little weasels, you wimps. Out there, they were going, well, I think it's a good idea because we'll never be great if we don't do this. I mean, that is such bullshit. It really is. I mean, your team should be in there trying every year to do something. And you know what? There's little excuse because there are many means by way to get to the top. But the good organizations always prosper, and the lousy ones act like the Miami Dolphins did over the last 20 years. But I think they got me, Lubie. I'm willing to overlook all of the BS, all of the baloney, and think that, wow, you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the field at the same time. Are you kidding me? You have two Tyreek Hills. Two.
Yes. Yeah.
Not one. Two, Lubie.
Yep.
And then you have other guys that, Gesicki is a pass-catching machine. And seems to have a connection with Tua, where Tua can put the ball pretty much anywhere, and Gesicki gets his hands on it and makes the catch. He's been dynamite. You have a possibility that one of these big receivers that you've been counting on could possibly wake up and, perform because he's got these two flyers around him that can catch the ball short, make something happen, or go right past everybody. So there's going to be a lot of attention being paid. And the likelihood that a Devontae Parker is ever going to see a double team again is Blutarski, my friend, 0.0.
Honestly.
So what are we missing here? Quarterback? I don't know. I mean, how are they going to screw this up? It seems almost impossible.
This is exactly what I wanted them to do. So, I mean, I think it'll work fine, but you never know, I guess.
No, not with the Dolphins. I mean, there's a curse hovering over this team, and I'm not sure if there's really any way to dissolve it. It's possible that they have a curse that is even more evil. More sinister than the curse of Rachel Nichols was for anybody that she interviewed during the time where she was Mrs. Basketball or Miss Basketball. All right, so speaking of basketball, we never go back to I'm trying to dodge talking about this second half because I was so enthusiastic. I was thinking, holy Joe Zagacki. I couldn't believe it. Joe Zagacki, for the uninitiated, is the longtime play-by-play voice of the Hurricanes. Helped me break into local radio, actually, at one point, although I don't believe it was through any choice of his own. I believe it was just like, who's out there? I don't think he really liked me, but then I didn't think he really liked anybody. Is that possible that you could be a guy that really just doesn't like anybody? I mean, and I like Joe. I really do, but...
You're friends now, right? I know he thinks of you.
I always was. I mean, I never had any, the guy helped me out. Look, I was rolling around on the streets there thinking, what am I going to do with myself? And I get a call from this guy. He says, hey, well, we need another guy at WIOD, one of the most fabled radio stations. Larry King got his start there. And I thought, good. That's exactly what I need right now is a little bit of supplemental income doing some radio. And the next thing you know, I'm the host of Sports Talk 610, an iconic radio property here in South Florida. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. And I got to do, the Canes games, among my favorite experiences as a broadcaster were those couple of years I spent on the road with a very poor Hurricanes basketball team. Leonard Hamilton was the coach. Everybody thought he was out of his mind. They didn't really have any, talent to speak of. The guys that they had recruited. Now, Leonard, an excellent recruiter, as you know. I mean, you see this.
Yes.
That was his gig at Kentucky. He was bringing big-time stars to Kentucky. And it led to him becoming a head coach here at the University of Miami. And he did recruit some players that you would have thought, wow, these guys can really do it, right? That kid, Stevie Frazier, he was legendary in New York City. I mean, this was a guy that averaged 30 a game. He was as spectacular high school player as Sebastian Telfair was, a guy they made a movie about, for God's sake.
Yep.
And as good as any New York City high school player, supposedly, that ever came out. What happens? Leonard gets the bright idea that he was going to adopt something. Didn't Kentucky start that? The Midnight Madness? Where the first practice is at midnight, the second that they're available to put a basketball on the floor by NCAA regulations, boom. And then that became like somewhat traditional, I suppose. I don't know that they still do that. They didn't do that at Kentucky this year. I was there when they had the what would have been the Midnight Madness, but it didn't start at midnight, Libby. It started at like 7:00 at night. I almost went.
You should have.
I had a ticket for it. My buddy Todd Schrupp from TVG had tickets for this thing. He said, "You'll really enjoy this."
Yep.
And I thought, well, geez, it's not like there's a ton of stuff to do. There's no great nightlife in Lexington, Kentucky. So I thought, I'm a sports guy. Why don't I do something like this? But then I thought about being in a crowd of 20,000 screaming people.
Yeah.
And there was still some of this mask sensitivity. And I just thought, you know what? Being the old geezer that I am, maybe it's best I sit this one out.
Yep.
I'm kind of regretful that I didn't go, though, because, as you realize that you're on borrowed time, you're thinking these experiences that you shined on because you just were too lazy, to get up and get ready and get down there. Ain't getting those back, Lubie.
No.
Ain't getting those back. If you're planning on going fishing today, just go ahead and go fishing, right? Because you know what? You may not have that tomorrow. That's what we keep thinking. And we thought maybe, you know what? How just absolutely delicious was it thinking about the Hurricanes making the Final Four, and then you already had Duke in there, and you were figuring North Carolina was going to put an end to this whole St. Peter's fairy tale that was going on. As they said in Cinderella Man, the Max Baer character, you know what? When he said that to Renee Zellweger, who was playing the wife of Cinderella Man, James J. Brannick, people die in fairy tales too.
Yes.
All right. That one stuck with me.
That's
one of
true.
those lines out of the movie, that stuck with me. And, of course, that's what happened. The fairy tale, boom, it ended for both UM and also St. Peter's. But St. Peter's was a logical one. I thought UM was in there with a puncher's chance. And when they went on that 9-2 run before the half, wow, up 6, getting 6 in a hook, Lubie. And you're thinking, okay, so even if they get bludgeoned in the second half, they can't lose this game by double digits, can they?
No.
Wow.
I didn't get to watch a lot of it because we were bouncing around coming back from Tampa, but I was keeping track of it, and they were up at half. I'm like, oh my God, look at Larinaga. This is amazing. And then I went away, came back. I'm like, down 8. I'm like,
this was a real fight, too. I mean, that first half was great. They played brilliantly, and they did everything that they could. Now it's possible, you see this sometimes when you get, I don't want to say it was a mismatch, but the second half certainly was. If all you saw was the second half of that game, you were probably asking yourself, how the hell did these guys get here?
Yeah.
The three-point shooting in the college ranks is abysmal for the most part, is it not? I mean, how could you not find some 6'5" white guy or, any guy for that matter? I don't mean to be racist, but you know the type that I'm talking about. That just bangs down threes. It's a 20-foot shot. It's not that big of a deal.
There's a bunch of
20-foot shot. It's 5 feet beyond the free throw line. That's all you have to do. I mean, it's not a chuck. You don't have to hoist it with everything you have like you're, in the shot put there. Here comes Gert Bonk, and he's already eclipsed 52 feet. Right? The guy's got that ball under his chin, and he has to hoist it from half court. It's a natural jump shot for a lot of people, especially out of the corners. Are you kidding me, Lubie? How do these coaches miss? Is the entire country void with the emphasis on the three-pointer of guys who can shoot three-pointers? Where are these people, Lubie?
I don't know, because the NBA, that's all they do is shoot threes. Every team has like 4 guys that can shoot threes.
At the park, does anybody take a layup anymore? They don't have a layup drill. They have a 3-point shooting contest before the game, right? Guys shooting from out of bounds. You're shooting from on the grass, right? The concrete is ended, and you're shooting from on the grass. And they're just taking it further and further out. But, wow, I mean, Purdue shot 1 for 20 from three-point range in their loss to Villanova. 1 for 20. You're handing the game to the other team, literally. And the Canes in the second half, I don't know. Did they even make a three-pointer? I don't know that they did. I mean, they were like 0 for umpteen or something, and it was awful. And then, of course, you had Kansas explode early on in the second half. I mean, they erased the 6-point deficit almost immediately. And as you said, Lubie, if you went to take a leak, by the time you got back, they were down 15. I mean,
I was like, what the hell?
I think they scored 14 points in the second half, right? Did they end up with 50 in that ballgame? 76-50? Was that the final?
76-50 was the final.
Okay, so they had 14 points in the second half of that game. They were up 36 to what? 36 to 30.
Okay.
So they lose 46-14 in the second half. A 32-point deficit in that's almost impossible in 20 minutes of basketball to lose by 32 points. Unbelievable, huh? Wow. Yep. So that's the way it ended. I mean, it was an unfortunate ending to a great ride. We'll try and catch up with Jim Larinaga later on in the week. He's been very gracious coming on the show, and I do believe that he appreciates the fact that we always try to at least find out what was going on with the Hurricane basketball team, even when to the rest of the city and to virtually everybody else in the country, they were, sitting on irrelevant last year, completely and totally irrelevant. Nobody cared. And this is the town without pity. We've talked about it many times, where we hail from, South Florida. Lubie and I here, and we know that indifference is really
worst.
That's the big letter at the top of the eye chart, is an I for indifference when it comes to the sports scene here. People don't care. They just don't give a flying one. I mean, even with all of these maneuvers by the Miami Dolphins, there's still the attitude that the gambling gourmet, Mr. Irascible, Mike Mayo, has, which is, we'll let him win a playoff game.
Oh, God.
You're like, all right. I mean, and we have like a nickel wagered on whether the Florida Panthers, with the second best point total in all of the NHL, I believe they might be as many as 6 points ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning, for God's sake.
Yes, they are. Yep.
Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, the Lightning are dynamite, right? Do they win back-to-back Stanley Cups?
Champions, yes. Two-time defending champions.
And they're no worse this year.
No, they're loaded.
And that I think Mayo represents the attitude and the approach of the people in this area who have been numb to the fact that any of their teams are going to be any good, including Lubie. And you better watch out for this one, the way it's going. You're Miami.
Yeah.
What is going on with these guys?
The last week, they get to they're the number one seed for a long time now. They get it by, I think, their biggest margin, 3 games. It got down to the point where, because there was only like 13 games left, you could do math on, if they had just gone over 500, you would think they'd clinch the 1 seed. And the minute people thought that way, the next 4 games, they forgot how to play basketball, and it was a total disaster.
They lose 2 games to teams that had nobody of their star players on the floor. Not one, right?
Gift wraps.
And then they get beaten by the New York Knicks, for God's sake. The Knicks, who I guess have won a couple of ball games of late. I don't know. I mean, people threw in a towel on the Knicks a long time ago this season. One of the most disappointing seasons in all of sports, right? The follow-up to last year's glamour year, where they were finally back on the map there, and Julius Randle looked like he was going to be a superstar, like the second coming of Willis bleeping Reed. And sure enough, I mean, they fell on hard times. Everybody thought that it was same old song for Tom Thibodeau, right? It's the same old song, where he does a good job when he comes in there. Comes in with some innovative things. And then all of a sudden, the message is lost, right? Because he's too much of a hard-on.
He's too much.
Lubie?
Hard ass. He's too much of a hard ass. I don't know.
Why am I thinking about a hard-on?
Yeah,
what is wrong with
a hard-on for it, but he's too much of a hard-on.
At 71, man, you welcome everyone. Trust me.
I was going to say, good for you.
Yeah, you welcome every single one, man. They don't, well, I don't want to go into detail. All right, so the ride ended, the Cinderella ride, and for St. Peter's, I mean, it was just a knockout blow right away. North Carolina immediately established its superiority, and the game was never a game. That kid with the mustache, he ended up getting a deal with Buffalo Wild Wings, name, image, and likeness, and then signed some kind of clothing deal with Barstool Sports. Now, is he even going to be back on a team? Is he a senior? I mean, where is this, money coming from, and where is it going? St. Peter's now. Does that become a destination? Because they're going to lose the coach, Shaheen Holloway.
He's gone.
Everybody says is straight to Seton Hall. which
Seton Hall legend. He's in Jersey already, and they just lost their coach to Maryland. So I mean, it just makes perfect sense.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're without a coach, and this guy starred there, and of course is a big shot in New Jersey, and you would have to think that he could easily recruit to Seton Hall, even with the fairy tale ride of St. Peter's. Do they do that again? I mean, is that something they can persist in doing, becoming a factor? You don't often see that with Cinderellas, that they sustain being a factor. I guess, Loyola of Chicago and Butler did it. Butler with Stevens. Brad Stevens, remember, they were like, wait a minute, what is this team doing? They're like a powerhouse all of a sudden. And Loyola Chicago, right? Didn't they make a run like 2 years in a row or 2 out of 3? Yes, where we were seeing Sister Jean on TV every day. She's on Good Morning America. She's Miss America. She's presenting at the Oscars, which did you catch that, Lubie?
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't talked more about it. I still don't know what the hell to do with it. The more I've actually done research on it because it looked like, again,
what kind of research?
Like I've read
if it's ever happened before where a guy came up out of the audience and whacked the presenter.
Oh, the fact that like there are different people that had different videos of Will Smith after going and talking to Tyler Perry and Denzel Washington, really distraught in the break. If it was fake, like that probably wouldn't happen.
No, I don't think that was fake at all. No,
the fact that during
Kanye West, I mean,
he cries, and it wasn't, oh my God, I wouldn't cry. He's a dude. It was I just ruined my life cry. I got my best moment ever. Moments after one of the worst things that's ever happened in this entertainment.
Who could be mad at Chris Rock anyway? Chris Rock seems like a really good guy.
Even, first of all, how does he probably doesn't. I didn't know that Jada Pinkett Smith had alopecia. She's had hair her whole career. So how would I know that she had alopecia? He probably didn't. So,
no, it became a popular story.
It's a big deal now.
Yeah. I mean, if I knew it, then believe me, it was out there for everybody.
I'm sure it was there. I know. Supposedly it was out since like October. Well,
I didn't know that Amy Schumer had, and we used to accuse Dave Wanstead of having this disease, jokingly, trichotillomania. You know what that is? Trichotillomania? Where you pull clumps of your hair out and then eat it.
She really has that?
And remember when Wanstead was on the sidelines? That was my big joke at the time. I must have said it 1,000 times if I said it once. And here I am bringing it up again. Defo, how about some original material, my friend?
I always said that.
But it did look like he was pulling his hair out of his head. And then, I mean, it didn't look like he was eating it. But, that's obviously a very sinister consequence of having this disease.
Look, I know, obviously, the world's seen that Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith have a very interesting, I guess it's a marriage. They're still married by law, but their relationship is very wide open. And she's thrown him under the bus a lot.
She's with other chicks, right? I don't know. What's going on with that? Charlie Sheen's relationship was more normal.
She's been with dudes. And because of that stupid show she had, that was a Facebook show, she was honest about everything. And then she would have Will Smith on to talk about how they handled it and just make him look really bad. And what's funny is he handled that fine, but Chris Rock doing a joke, like, I mean, it wasn't even that. It wasn't nice.
It's Chris Rock. I mean, you laugh, right? It doesn't matter what he said. It couldn't have been that, harmful, where the person is going to be, no pun intended, or, jaded for life. I mean, it wasn't going to affect her one way or the other, this joke. Now, I mean, what I'm gathering from the clips that I saw, because I didn't see it happen live, I didn't really have that much interest in the Oscars. I flipped it on for a few seconds here, and to me, it's much ado about nothing because I haven't seen most of the movies. Although I did catch, I don't know. I mean, it's not like Will Smith was Olivier as Richard Williams.
I thought it was good. I liked it. I forgot he was Will Smith, and I really felt he was Richard Williams, and that's what his job was. So I thought
they kind of made him seem like a much nicer guy than he was perceived to be.
He normalized Richard Williams. I was like,
Richard Williams. It seemed like he was out of his mind, didn't he? I mean, you're talking about strange, on top of strange.
What do you mean his daughter's
with Richard Williams? You would hear the Doors song in your head when this guy walked into the arena. People are strange when you're a stranger. But Will Smith, I mean, in the portion I saw, I didn't watch it all. I mean, in the portion I saw, I tell you what's really funny, though, from the, art imitating life. Have you watched this thing, Winning Time, on the Lakers on HBO?
See, I like it. I think they're.
Did you see, though? I mean, they made Pat Riley look like some burnt out, roadie for the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, they made.
I mean, and that was a young Pat Riley. Pat Riley didn't look like that when he was young.
I don't know. That's the thing. That's the period of Pat Riley. I don't know. I only know Riley when he was already winning. So maybe
He
that.
was sharp as a tack. I mean, that was his whole game, was the Armani suits and the slick back hair. I mean, that was all part of his aura, Pat
Exactly.
Riley.
While
He
he
could
was
have lost, and everybody would have said, my God, look at Pat Riley.
Like when he was playing, like that's the thing is, I don't know. Again, they openly say they're dramatizing it, so maybe they're making fun.
Understandable. I mean, could Jerry West be that big of an asshole?
Well, I was gonna say, first of all, they made West like a scumbag, and I never knew West. They've always made him a savant. All you've ever heard was that he was a savant with basketball. So
I mean, he might be a little, as we said about Mike Mayo. It's possible that he's a little bit irascible. He has a very sad story about being abused by his father.
Yep.
And so, you could excuse him being a little bit, gruff on the exterior, or maybe, with a big shield in front of him. But an overt asshole, that's what they paint him out to be, the great Jerry West. Are you kidding me? The logo.
They make him look like an asshole, and then they make Riley look like a guy that had, outside of basketball, didn't know what to do with himself.
Riley looks like he's been smoking weed down in Tijuana and just decided to come up there so he could sweep up the floor. I mean, what are you talking about? This is the great Pat Riley. If I'm Riley, I'm suing.
Well,
Right? If Trump could sue Hillary, Riley should sue HBO for this portrayal
they
of
made
him.
Chick Hearn look like I overrate. Like I didn't
see Chick Hearn in there yet. Yeah,
Hearn's the one that Riley talks to. Riley has to like beg for a job, which
I
find weird. Like I never.
Chick Hearn was one of the nicest people I met in the business. I did an interview with him when I was first getting going, and actually I used it in a resume page that I had made up, where I had a bunch of different features that I put together. I want to show like different styles of writing because I was coming from nowhere, the Fontana Herald News. So I had an interview with Chick Hearn, and he could not have been Lubie. You talk about when you meet somebody, and you've had this experience where you meet somebody like Mattingly, and you just feel like, wow, this guy talks to me like he's known me his whole life.
Yep.
Very welcoming. Vince Scully was that way. Chick Hearn that way. I mean, both first class when it came to that. And Hearn, believe it or not, after doing, I told you this before, this really struck me because it would never be my MO. But Hearn, after doing how many zillion games, he'd been in the business already like 30 years, right? He'd done every Laker game. And he still got to the arena like hours before the game. Like he was there in the afternoon for a night game, and he would rehearse the game in his head. And practice. He was doing like a warm-up game at like 2:00 in the afternoon, just imagining things, and he'd be talking about, there's Nixon yo-yoing up and down. And I'm like, Chick, there's nothing going on out there. What are you doing? And he said this was just a habit that he started and he never broke, or where he, actually came out and kind of, went through everything in his head. Not obviously, he doesn't know what's going to happen in the game specifically, but, he just wanted to have the terminology and everything. And he practiced before every game, believe it or not, going right to his grave with that style.
But he's like the head of market. He's Chick Hearn, but he's also the head of the marketing.
Yes, yeah, he was like a vice president eventually.
He's like involved in everything, and it's not okay. It's not that he's a jerk, but it's the time. So his language is.
Oh yeah, he couldn't have been any nicer or more gracious. I can't imagine that. That isn't a very
exchange he has with Riley, where he says, "Riley, okay, I don't want to give it away then," but
no, I may not see it, so it's okay with me.
He's like Riley, because I never thought of this. Even they'd show
this was
Riley,
the first I saw of Riley in the thing. I was watching it a little bit.
Showed Riley, and when Riley gets to the point where his wife's like, "You need to do something." He's trying to figure out what to do, and he's like, "Okay, maybe I can go do broadcasting." And he goes into Hearn's office, and Hearn looks at him like, "What, you?" He's like, "Yeah, what do you mean, Chick?" And he's like, "I mean, you know," and he's like, "What do you mean, what do you mean?" And he's like, "You sound sort of like, and he uses a term.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He said he had a bad voice or something.
Of a food you eat that's sweet, that's healthy for you. And he used that term. And I'm like, huh. I mean, I get it. It's like I guess it's the 70s. So I guess that's not the meanest thing you could say in the 70s. But the fact that they paint him that way now, it's like, okay, I never knew that of Chick Hearn. Like,
it's hard to imagine the Pat Riley that we know and love.
Yeah, who knows?
Evolved from that. Okay, I mean that
soft.
Seemed very far fetched because he became the coach of the Lakers shortly after that. So this disheveled, semblance of a hippie that he appears to be when he's in Palm Springs there at training camp. I mean, hardly makes you think that within a couple of years or less, he's going to be the head coach of the Lakers and the absolute apple of the eye of all of Los Angeles as a guy that just had a superstar presence. Right from the beginning. Yeah.
It's weird.
Unbelievable. Interesting stuff. All right, so we've discussed it all here. I mean, unfortunately, the Hurricanes went down. St. Peter's went down. That seemed pretty logical. And you now have Duke, North Carolina. And there's also another story that we'll get to in a minute here. And it concerns my return, Lubie, to Atlantic City.
Oh, already. You just got that.
Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Now, I'm not going to miss any of the shows here because it's going to be a one-day junket. Going up on Saturday, coming back on Sunday night. Now, there's a reason behind it, and we'll get to it. But that'll put me right back in AC for both games of the semifinals.
Oh, already? You're going back already?
I have to go back there this Saturday, yeah.
Really?
So, I mean, I wish it was because I left my credit card at Chef Vola's, but they don't take credit cards. It's cash only.
Well, don't take that check. I would keep the check far, far away.
And the check's already in the bank here, but certain portions thereof will no doubt be
thrown away
in play and in jeopardy of going up in smoke on this trip, which you know how it is. I mean, it's like the scene in Casino. We'll get into that just a sec. I tell you what, where you wouldn't have this feeling would be Hialeah Park.
Nice.
Because you don't feel like you're walking a plank there, like you're walking into the arena there behind Russell Crowe.
You have a shot.
Yeah, in the Gladiator movie. You're in there with a shot, and a big shot, because a lot of people are winning jackpots. I love Hialeah Park. I always have. I've said it many, many times. Still remember, as a young Deef, going there, and it was just absolutely, it was mind-blowing, Lubie. I mean, for a racetrack fan like me, and you'd always seen it, maybe in movies, and depicted in different things, and you thought, wow, I'd really like to go there and see what that looks like. And the first time you walk in there, and plus they had one of the greatest, if not the greatest, racing surfaces in the world, both with the dirt and the turf course. So that made it even more spectacular. And the horses were beautiful. It was just absolutely, as I often say, a scene right out of The Great Gatsby, where you can have a good time, too. I mean, you could be there. I mean, you're with racetrack people, right? So you still got the guys at the bar, and you have all of this elegance and all of that going on. And at the same time, you're down there with the guys that would just as soon eat raw meat as see some babe in a bonnet, just a lot of fun. So they have that same vibe there today. It's just absolutely fantastic what they've done with the casino. You're going to love it. You walk in there, you just feel like you're in a place where, wow, man, I feel like I could win the championship of the world. The poker room is great. Well run. I mean, really, Lubie, I'm not a poker player, but you can tell when a place is run the right way. I've been in a couple of, little celebrity tournaments there over the years, and I think I was there twice playing poker. And my strategy is try to do well early, but then you know me, I want to bolt and go home. So just shove all in with like 2-7 offsuit. And, then the guy takes all your money, which you wanted to give up anyway, because it was all for charity. And, he looks at you and he says, I knew you were bluffing, Defo.
Darn it.
Yeah, I'm bluffing, man. Hey, valet, 727 is the ticket. Yeah. But you can have that kind of fun there at Hialeah Park, which I often have. And the food and drink situation there is just absolutely exquisite. And champion simulcasting, wow, 3-year-old season. We're heading closer and closer, my friends, to that first Saturday in May. And there's nothing like taking in the Triple Crown in the champion simulcasting room. Just great, great people, too. I mean, they know how to treat the patrons there. They really feel and make you feel like you are family to them. And you will feel that way and enjoy every minute of your experience at beautiful Hialeah Park. Check out HialeahPark.com, too, for the calendar of events. Frankie's always got something special going on there. All right, we're coming back with more. John Kachemi going to join us. Dateline Dolphins. I mean, they got me this time, Lubie. Did they get you? They got me.
Of course, they got me. I've been jumping for joy.
They got me. Me, Mr. Cynic.
I was until the Heat started losing to teams that they had no business losing to. There was no. What do you mean? You had the Canes in the Sweet 16. You had the Canes football team who's hired this ridiculous staff. You have the Dolphins signing everyone.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, wow, look at us. The Heat are number one. The Panthers are making moves that I've never seen them make.
Heat are no longer number one. I believe Boston
they lost 4 in a row.
them.
Boston is number one? Oh, my God.
Yeah, Boston is like the top team in the East right now. I told you a couple of weeks ago to watch out for them Celtics. The C's were playing some just substantially great basketball, and they seem to blend everything together. Right after the time where you thought there was some truth to the idea that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum couldn't play together.
Yeah,
right? That's when everybody starts writing about. Well, these two guys can't coexist. They have skills that don't necessarily mesh well together. and they started meshing.
Right then.
And they ain't meshing around, Louis. I mean, they're
That's
number
it.
one in the East now. Your Heat, wow. I mean, are they trying? Is there something we don't know?
I don't know what they're doing. I don't
Nicky
know.
Harrison hard up for cash, and he had to have him tank a few games. Maybe he paid Spoelstra. Hey, listen, Eric, make sure they don't win tonight. He went Stephen Ross with that team. What happened? I don't know.
I don't know. 4 in a row, and it's been abysmal. And then the Knicks game, they actually had the lead into the fourth, and then just gave that away.
Oh, they blew a 15-point lead. The Knicks hadn't done that since they had Bill Bradley running around. Overcome a 15-point fourth quarter deficit. Unbelievable. Wow. I mean, what's going on? And Haslam, UD's punching it out with Jimmy Butler?
I don't know. It's a disaster.
So you thought that was staged? No, that Will Smith thing. I mean, he went up there. I'm surprised. You know, it was great. Chris Rock can take a punch.
He took it like a G. He laughed before, during, and after. I was like, okay, all righty.
I mean, this is a guy that played Ali, so he had to have some kind of at least, training, right? I mean,
it was weird.
In the gym, throw a jab or something, and he throws a right hand, unsuspecting. I mean, this was the Mayweather fight against Victor Ortiz.
That's exactly what
where Victor, like a fool, is apologizing in the corner, and then Joe Cortez, Hall of Fame referee, just lets Mayweather sock him in the jaw and then counts the guy out.
Yeah, it was weird. That was weird. And that last night,
oh my
God,
the
Oscars goes on the stage. Which, first of all, where would that be allowed? Because now, like, if he can do it, why can't someone else do that?
Yeah, how did they know it was even Will Smith?
After. They don't walk him out. They let him go back to his seat.
Was there a plot to kill Chris Rock? Yeah, how do they know?
That. That's why I thought it was fake, because and if you watch it, it looks like a staged punch. Like, it was weirdly acted.
Yeah, like something The Rock would throw.
Yes, and then he sits back down and starts yelling again. It's like, so no one's gonna stop this. That's not weird at all.
It's Chris Rock.
I
mean, there's some comedians, I guess, maybe could Rickles have gotten under your skin? No, you just have to take it. That's what it's all about.
I don't get it. That was weird.
There was nothing worse. And I regret this, to this day, that I ever subjected myself to being victimized by having somebody say, hey, we want you, because you're like a funny guy, to stand up and roast the management here tonight. They're all in favor of it. In fact, this comes from the big man himself.
Nope.
And then I'm doing my thing there, absolutely abusing these people just by simply saying the truth, because it was a radio station, and the management was abysmal at best. I mean, bordering on criminal activity was going on there, and I was very free in saying this because everybody in the audience knew it, and they all, they've been waiting to erupt and laugh and go, yeah, that's right, this guy's a criminal. At Lubie, I'm looking out there and I'm saying, and I had a couple of drinks, and I was saying to myself, my God, this is not going over favorably with the people that said, hey, make sure you go ahead and do this, and really zing it to them.
Yeah, wow. People say they want it, and then you do it, and they're like, oh, that was rude. It's like, you told me to do it. Like, what'd you think I was going to do?
You can't be sensitive. It's a roast. I mean, come on.
What do you think Chris Rock's going to do at the Oscars? Like, in the community of people who are overly sensitive, you don't think he's going to sit there and have fun? Like, that wasn't even that bad. Like, I get it. You don't want to make fun of health conditions, but
yeah.
So I don't know if he knew. And second, if he did know, of all the health conditions in the world, it's not cancer. Like alopecia. Most people wouldn't even know what alopecia is. Like,
I thought it was a place in Pennsylvania where you go to vacation, man. We're in the Alopecia Mountains there. No, not too far from Pocono Downs. You can still get to the track.
No, we're in a place where everyone's sensitive. I get it, but come on. Then don't have comedians do that. Have James Corden, who's a night host, who knows how to have fun with celebrities. Don't have legitimate one of the greatest top 5 to 10 comedians ever. Chris Rock has been known to push the limit. He literally defends Louis.
But he's not an overwhelmily offensive comedian.
No, but
he's very, very one of my favorites of all time, naturally, because I saw him before he made it with my then at the time 8-year-old son at the Riviera in Las Vegas. Third man up on the bill. Chris Rock. He was the third guy away from the featured act, which I don't remember who that was. But we do remember Rock. And it was right around the time of the OJ case. And he had that great line about, let's see, I don't want to try the guy in, the court of public opinion, but bloody glove at the crime scene, bloody glove at OJ's house. I think we have something there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like all of a sudden, Furman decided to pick up this glove and fire at OJ's window so Kato Kalin could go, hey, I think there's somebody out there, OJ. You home? Oh man, imagine this. I mean, you talk about the biggest blown layup of all time. That was Chris Darden and Marcia Clark, and they both made millions off of it.
Yeah, because they were fools. The movies never. All the movies depicted them even stupider.
You ever brick a layup on a game-winning attempt?
Yeah. Well, I
brick a layup. Just brick one.
Yeah, I wasn't good at layups. I could get to the rim, but I could never finish.
I was a horrible layup shooter. That's why, I mean, I watched Kyrie Irving at the cup, as they say, and I'm thinking, that wasn't me, man. You know, it wasn't bad around the basket? Goran Dragic.
Oh, he's
the
great.
Dragon, yeah.
Great around the basket.
But he wasn't as smooth. You know, it wasn't like the moves looked like they were all natural. It was a little bit robotic on the part of Goran Dragic, but he managed to convert a lot of layups. Yes. Whereas, is that a Jewish thing that we all brick layups?
I just was not good at it.
Was Bob Cousy Jewish? No, he made a lot of layups.
I don't think he's Jewish.
Cousy? No, I don't think he was Jewish. All right. I don't think John Kajemi is either, but he's a great guy, and he's going to join us. And I want to run my theory by him. They got me, Lubie. They got me this time.
And all of us. What do you mean? I think you're just a bitter jerk if you don't give him at least a little bit of a chance.
I mean, a little bit of a chance. What are you talking about, Lubie? This should be one of the most dynamic offenses in the history. Holy Bill Walsh. And you got this guru genius freak, you know, that's, sitting there instead of reading the playbook. He's got like a book by Thoreau in front of him. Went to, what? Was he a Yale guy or something?
Oh, graduate, yes, Yale. Yep.
Yale.
Yep.
Yale.
Yeah. That's the funny thing is he's young, but he's been coaching for 15 years in the NFL. Like he came right out of Yale into the NFL.
I don't know the guy's name, but there was a kid from Yale, I believe it was yesterday, that went 4 for 5 in a baseball game, 4 home runs, 2 grand slams, and 11 runs batted in. Can you imagine having a day like that on any athletic playing field? I don't care at what level.
Yeah, it could be
4 for 5, 4 balls over the fence, and 2 of them were salamis. Unbelievable.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, that kid should be, the athlete of the week, no?
Higher. You're never doing that ever again.
I mean, I don't know what level is Ivy League baseball. It's got to be pretty good, no?
I've never heard of it.
I mean, Northeast, you got a lot of kids, smart kids can play some ball.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right?
I've never
They're not out there playing, a big-time brand of football there at Yale, are they? Not anymore, my friend.
That's since the 1920s.
Yeah. Remember when it was like Yale versus Harvard, and that was the big game?
I don't remember, but I've heard of it, yes, until Roosevelt had to, make it illegal or something. People were like,
Marty Glickman on the call. Yeah, the great Marty Glickman out of Syracuse University. All right, John Kajemi going to join us next. The little Dateline Dolphins. That's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's a great place to hang out. Wow. I mean, can you imagine the weekend there?
Yeah, this
had to be spectacular.
With this weather.
Tremendous weather. I mean, not that you even need it. You could be on the threshold of a hurricane. It would still be fun to hang out at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, although you might want to hightail it out of there when the thing actually hits. Yeah.
Yes.
What would it be?
Be
leave the clothes, take the Italian fisherman pizza.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't leave the
We're
pizza.
getting out of here. We're scramboozling out of here. But you want to have that pizza on the way out of town here. Nonetheless, I mean, look, let's not even think about that. You had gorgeous weather, and you're going to have it all week. So, and you spring breakers that are, I hear we're number 1 with spring breakers, Lubie, this show.
Oh,
Jack
nice.
was telling me this. Sent me a text last night. Said he was hanging out with a bunch of spring breakers, and they all loved the show.
Welcome.
Jack Namer, Spring Breakers there, Lauderdale by the Sea.
I can't hang with spring breakers, so good for him.
Yeah, very popular because when you're a handsome, I don't want to say older guy, but I consider myself an older guy.
Decent.
And Spring Breakers. I mean, these young chicks, they dig it. They really do. They want maturity. They're tired of these college kids, squeezing tits and
exactly.
and cheating on them, right?
Combo.
Whatever. Anyway, Jimmy Johnson's his place to chill out. You spring breakers that are loving the show, head down there, man. I don't know. Do they want to be inundated with spring breakers at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill? They're indiscriminate there. You want to have fun? You want to chill? And, obviously they don't want a lot of chaos going on, but, it's be the place to go, man. And imagine you're like a college kid from the Northeast, and you come down here and you taste that Italian fisherman pizza that Dominic Kajemi makes. Oh my God. I mean, you talk about just culinary, euphoria. That's what that would be. All right. So check it out. Mile Marker 104. We'll tell you more about it. Of course, you see the visuals there that Amy put together. Fantastic job. And You know what? That's one of the times where, we often say this, where the place looks like and even exceeds what you
Yeah.
see in the brochure.
Yep.
And you see those spectacular aerials and the shots of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in the grounds, and you realize, wow, that is the place to be in Key Largo or anywhere in the Florida Keys. Plan your vacation down there, stop by, get down there and get something to eat. And a great place to watch the games next Saturday, the semifinal games. Well, I didn't even get to explain this one in Atlantic City.
Keep going back.
just when I thought I was out,
Yeah, Jesus.
they pull me back in.
That's amazing.
This is a great scam, and it's right out of the concept is right out of. You remember when the Japanese guy, the big whale, won all of that money in the movie Casino, and
Yes.
Rickles and De Niro kind of follow him to the airport, and all of a sudden there's a problem with the plane because they know when the guy comes back, he's not going to be able to handle it. He was leaving with like $3 million of their money, which was huge at that time. And they know that no matter what, he starts out playing small, but he couldn't help himself. He's a sick, degenerate gambler, and he ends up losing it all back plus $1 million because he had to go back.
Yep.
Same thing may apply. All right, back with John Kajemi here on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, Ion Channel. Google the Defo Show. Having a great time with you on this Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. I think we peeled ourselves off pretty nicely here in this first hour of the show. So a lot of fun being with you. John Kajemi joins us for a little Dateline Dolphins and a lot of talk about the National Football League, where there was a hell of a lot of activity, Lubie. A hell of a lot of activity. I mean, just been unbelievable what's happened in this offseason, and we're still not all the way through it. So back with John in a moment. Now that.
The time!
8:02.
It's Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program, along with John Kajemi, and it's Dateline Dolphins, of course. Leslie Bisser, the lovely and talented one.
It was always different. You had to know if it was Emmitt Smith, if you screamed at him, he was going to go into a shell. I wasn't going to get anything out of him for the rest of the day. If it's Charles Haley, he was going to get upset at me and maybe threaten me on my life. And
mean it.
Yeah, and mean it. And he could have done it too, I promise. But when he went into my office, he said, Coach, just get on to me one-on-one. Don't do it in front of the other players. Now, Michael Irvin, I could cuss him like a sailor. And the more I cussed him, the harder he worked.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo, joined by Lubie, on The Defo Show.
And welcome back to the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. It's a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday. And I could tell, man, this guy must have been, what? Did you get in 36 holes? John Kajemi? I mean, you could not. It was. He used to be the chairman or the commissioner of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, was this woman named Nikki Grossman. And I always think of her saying, it's Chamber of Commerce weather out there. And it really was over this weekend. And you look like you got your share of sunshine, John. How are you, my friend?
Defo, I'm going to paint the picture for you. I felt like Jackie Gleason in a Cadillac golf cart riding around Inverary back in the 70s on a 36-hole day because it was that glorious outside this weekend. Yeah, it was a blast. I had a good time on the golf course. Didn't play particularly well, but I didn't sweat a drop. Had a couple cocktails and had fun. So I was around friends, so it was a great weekend.
I don't picture you as a big schwitzer. I mean, did you sweat at all when you were playing football?
No, just enough to get my towards going in the right direction. Sometimes you get a little off and you need a little medication to help you hit it straight. So that was where I went.
But you could be like in the PGA tour guide, and nobody would assume that it was a misprint. I mean, you have that kind of appearance like these guys. I mean, they're out there and it's 112 degrees, and they're playing that tournament in Houston, Texas.
In Austin
I guess
this
it comes
weekend,
up, before like the Masters, So,
oh yeah, exactly.
And the humidity is 200%. I mean, like everybody is schwitzing their brains out. Roger Maltby, I mean, he can barely even stand up with all of that equipment that he's wearing, and there's not a bead of sweat on these guys, not one drop.
No.
The shirt looks perfect, the pants. I mean, and they're wearing slacks on top of that. Like all of a sudden, they could just as easly be at a cocktail party.
We need a Craig Stadler back on the PGA Tour just to make everybody feel better, right?
Well, I mean, Stadler had an excuse, and I understand that. And the reference, is great because, remember when he got penalized at 2 strokes and it cost him a penalty for, and the guy called into the TV truck and that Frank Chirkinian or whatever was the director, big time guy, and he said, "Hey, wait a minute, we got to tell the rules guys about this." And he had put a towel under his knee as he was trying to hit a ball from underneath
Under
a tree.
a tree, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But the truth was he was so fat by golf standards that he only had 1 pair of pants. So he had to put the towel there because he was going to have to wear these pants the next day.
You know what? Back
So
in
is that
day,
cheating? I mean, that's not really cheating, John. You're a golfer and, at the elite level. I mean, would you consider that a real violation, or would you just said, go ahead, Craig, put the towel down there?
There are some golf rules that are really bad for golf, bad for the average golfer. They just don't make sense. And all the tour pros and all the real professional golf elites, they always tell you, well, the rules are there to help you. I haven't really found one that's helped me in I don't know how many years in the rule book of golf. But you're right, that was kind of a weird rule because it was building a stance.
Yeah.
Listen, Craig Stadler had so many lines and arrows and spots on his pants. No one would have noticed if he had a dirt spot, around the knee area, right? That was the style in the 70s and 80s, what you wore. So that's a bad rule. Bad rule.
Well, you know me, John, having suffered through this a lot of my life. I always root for the fat guys in sports, and so I loved it that Stadler was a fat guy, and I always rooted for him. And the Walrus, it turned out he was a great guy because he had finished up his final round. He was kind of out of contention in the Honda Classic. All right, so that's taking place where it was in Broward, Bent. Then
it might have been at Weston Hills.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as far up there as Palm Beach because sure enough, later that afternoon, who do we run into at the track? Craig Stadler, who was in the tournament that afternoon, and he came out to Gulfstream.
Same outfit.
And he's just hoisting a few with the guys. So I always liked him, before that. And then I really fell in love with him because, I mean, what a great move, huh? Straight from the golf course to the track. Which is, that's not necessarily your game, but I would imagine a lot of your friends. I mean, that's the ultimate combination, a little golf in the morning, straight to the racetrack to smoke a cigar and try and bet some ponies in the afternoon.
That's a strong move. I mean, I never heard that story. That's a great story.
True story. Yeah. We ran into the Walrus there at the track, and he was just hoisting them and having a great time at the Tiki Bar out there. And then I saw him when he was on the Champions Tour because I used to go up and do some shows from the tournament at Broken Sound. and he's on the driving range, and he looked small. I don't know. Did he lose a ton of weight, or was he just never really that fat to
He
begin
might
with?
have. No, he
Yeah.
might have lost some weight, but I don't think he was ever that big. He was just bigger than everybody else
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you had Johnny Miller that weighed 115 pounds, and then you
Right.
had Greg Sadler might have been 200, and it
Yeah.
just looked different on TV.
They all look like jockeys, these guys.
Yeah.
Tall jockeys, but jockeys nonetheless. All right, and your man Scheffler is on fire.
I know.
What are we going to do with this Masters pool, John Jimmy? I mean,
I don't
really have to
know.
do some thinking. How could you possibly leave that guy off any list, no matter who else is on it? I mean, the guy's won like 3 of the last 5 tournaments, and he like breezes through this match play thing. Which, what's your feeling about that? Do you like that or not? The match play, where
I
the
love
guys.
match play.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay.
love that tournament. Yeah. I think the PGA Tour should have a couple of more tournaments like that because it really it brings out different strategy in golf and how you play the golf course and how you attack the golf course, either aggressively or by holding back because your playing partner is in trouble and you don't need to continue to make birdies, where par is good sometimes or a conservative shot is better than always stepping on the gas. So yeah, Scotty Scheffler, what a month he's had.
Wow.
Right? Every time you see his wife now, she's got a better outfit on because she won another tournament, right?
She had a ring like she played for the Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
The last one.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was great. All right, let me ask you this then in match play. I mean, I would imagine there might have been a few bucks riding on this. Danny Boy certainly was flush, and you've made your share of cash in your lifetime. Did you have to concede Marino absurdly difficult putts at different times when you were lining up with him on a golf course? So, he's got a twisting, turning 26-footer, and you, John Kajemi, having to face like a treacherous downhill bender from 7 feet away to win the hole. But you just tell Danny before you stand over your putt, "Oh, that's good, Danny."
No, I would. He taught me just about everything he knew, so he would never do that. So I try not to do that.
Right.
Maybe with other players that you feel like, okay, I'm going to give him this putt because at the end of the day, I'm going to find a way to figure out how to win.
Yeah.
So you give him a putt here or there. And sometimes it comes back to bite you. But when you're playing with somebody that the mentality is he would never give you this putt, even if you were on your deathbed, he would say, putt it, get up and putt it. No, I probably wouldn't.
Oh, okay. Because I figured just by the nature of the fact that we are talking about Dan Marino here.
Well,
even though you guys are good friends,
yeah. Sometimes it's good. Go ahead, pick it up if you have a similar putt. But if one guy's out 12 feet and another guy's in there 3.5, you're going to make that guy. You got to putt it.
I like when you're playing a guy that is so ridiculous that you concede him his putt, which is more difficult than yours, but then he doesn't give you yours and you miss it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, what? I gave
know,
you that.
That's the worst feeling in the world. That's the one when you say all that money that's spent on modern medicine and nothing cures lockjaw, right? No, you got to give him a putt, right? But he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say a word.
All right, John, I began the show by saying when we were introducing the fact that you're going to be on with Dateline Dolphins here, and they got me. I was thinking about this yesterday on my walk of life. They finally got me, the Miami Dolphins. And this is after years of just like total BS that they've been feeding everybody, including the tank job of a couple of years ago. And then all this acrimony. I mean, it couldn't have looked any worse, this Brian Flores thing. And he's pointing a finger at Stephen Ross. He's accusing him of sports bribery, for God's sake, and saying he has evidence. And this follows up all of the other bozoic things that have happened over the years. The failed experiments with general managers. You had Mike Tannenbaum signing Dominican Sue and Mike Wallace, just total bustology and criminalizing your salary cap in terms of
Wheeler. We can go on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so many bad moves, and they failed at the tank job. That didn't even work out like they had planned because they won a bunch of games that year. And then that created all of this, hostility between Flores and the organization, or at least, help fuel some of that. And you're going back to Tony Sperano and Bill Parcells and all the different things that happened since Dan Marino was the quarterback here. And we knew every year going in, you could count on Tony Segreto picking us to win 10 games, right? When he did that thing before the season. This time they got me, though. I mean, with Tyreek Hill, my God. And we had Tyreek Jr. already on the roster. I mean,
Right.
I don't know how far behind Tyreek Hill is Jalen Waddle with what he did in his rookie season. My Lord, with a team that was struggling through 7 straight losses, and this kid just shined and came on as the season progressed, even though 17 games now for a rookie instead of 16, which is already like a giant upgrade from what they were used to playing in college in terms of stamina for the season. No Wall, the guy just continues to exhibit amazing growth, and now you have those two guys on the field at the same time, and a better offensive line. They got me, John. How could they possibly be bad this year? I don't see it.
I don't see it either, to be quite honest with you. I mean, they've upgraded just about every position you needed to upgrade on the offensive side of the football, and they re-signed a lot of the guys they needed to on defense. So when you take a look at this roster, it's fairly complete. The only thing that you don't have synergy in are the coaching staff with the players and the schemes on offense and defense. Defense is probably a little bit more settled because you retain Josh Boyer as the defensive coordinator. But on offense, you have a new head coach, a new coordinator, new position coaches, basically, except for the running backs, a new offensive line coach. So there's going to be some working out the kinks in terms of blocking schemes, in terms of formations and motions and personnel. I think personnel is going to be the biggest change with the Miami Dolphins offense when the casual fan looks at it. Are we in 3 tight ends? Are we in 2 tight ends? Are we in no tight ends? Are we in motion? How many times do you have Waddle and Cedric Wilson and Tyreek Hill on the field at the same time with Mike Gesicki as your quasi tight end with one running back? I think those are going to be the biggest things, and you're going to have Preston Wilson is re-signed, but Devontae Parker's been rumored to maybe go other places. So you don't have that alpha on the outside, but you sure are going to have trouble defending the smaller Smurfer-sized guys that are going to be blazers. And it's not always going to be, downfield with vertical routes. It's going to be a lot of picks, a lot of crossing routes where you get guys running away from man coverage or running into a zone where you can take a 5-yard pass and take it 75 yards for a touchdown.
Holy Clayton and Duper, man. It's great. I mean, Lubie's got one for you, but, very exciting concept there with those two guys on the field.
Well, John, and again, this is the Defo Show here. Just Google the Defo Show, Dateline Dolphins with John Jimmy. Thanks to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo. What I find interesting, and it's so funny because Defo and I have talked about this. Not only Dolphin fans were negative, they've just been disinterested for so long that it's hard to get them into it. But even I had to tell people, look, you don't have to find the negative here. Like, I get it. Tyreek Hill is fast. The majority of his routes aren't deep. Like, they kept showing highlights of Mahomes looking to the crowd and doing this down the field. That's like one of every 15 throws. Like, the normal throws to Tyreek Hill are Tua's best throws, the slant or the screen. And Tua's so accurate that it allows his receiver to do something with it. But on top of that, the stat that people didn't realize existed, Tua actually had the best percentage of completion percentage downfield. He just only did it 20 times because when you have 1 second to throw, how can you get the ball down? Like, that's what people don't get. It's not that he doesn't have an arm. No, he's not Jeff George, and he's not Elway, but he's also not Chad Pennington when he came to the Dolphins. Like, the dude has enough arm strength, but you don't need to get that. How often do guys go down the field now? Like, down the field, this isn't the 80s with Marino. Like, it's just a different game.
It isn't the Oakland Raiders, and they used to have Daryl LaMonica bombing it down the field, right?
I love those teams. I really did.
I used to love those teams too.
Although they would be, arch rivals of my beloved at the time, New York Jets.
Yes, and Pittsburgh Steelers. So they were the rivals of just about the National Football
Steelers
League, right?
and Raiders. Wow.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, Lubie. Like, I was reading a stat the other day, and I wrote it down. Tua has the 3rd quickest average release in the National Football League. It's under 2.5 seconds. Okay. Jalen Waddle has the third most receptions within 2 seconds of the snap. All right. And Tyreek Hill has the fourth most receptions within 2 seconds. So both quarterbacks, whether it was Tua to Jalen or whether it was Mahomes to Tyreek, they both got rid of the football to those guys under 2 seconds. So it wasn't just rear it back, let me avoid, 2 possible sacks, wave this way, and then fire it 60 yards down the field. Yeah, you had those plays, but they were far and few between of the bread and butter stuff that was quick. The slants, the bubble screens, the now, right off the line of scrimmage, just normal patterns and pick plays. Sometimes, it was just a pick play on the outside that would give a guy just a body length of room, of separation. And that's all you need in the National Football League. If you've got that window, the ball's coming out on time, it takes pressure off of your offensive line. It applies pressure to coverage and defensive secondary. So you have that synergy is going to, I think, apply to this new offense and what Mike McDaniel wants to do in terms of in terms of getting rid of the football, but yet running the football and being physical at the line of scrimmage. So you have a little bit of both. So it keeps the defense on their heels.
They got me, John. They got me.
It's hard not to.
John Kajemi with us here on the Defo Show, and always a pleasure. Brought to you, as Lubie mentioned, by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker Route 104 in the Keys. All I can say, a couple of things. I mean, holy Bill James, holy Buck Showalter. Those sabermetrics were fantastic there, John Kajemi. We don't normally dive into that kind of research here on the
I knew it would apply
show.
At some point on the show, so I wanted to write it down because I saw it on a clip. But it just goes to the point that you're trying to make, Lubie. It's not always have to be downfield. Yeah, you want to stretch them, vertically, and you're going to get those plays. But it's the simple plays. It's the catch it in shotgun, get rid of it that keeps your offense moving in the chains.
Yep.
Well, and you mentioned Preston Williams, and unfortunately, this guy had butterfingers. I mean, hands of stone there at times, and yet. I mean, he was one of those guys that when he lit it up there in the preseason that one year, and you thought,
ago.
wow, I mean, where'd they find this guy? And he hasn't really lived up to that on a consistent basis since, although showing flashes here and there. But that particular receiver is going to benefit immensely, you would have to think, because you're not going to be able to cover these guys. And then you were a quarterback. I mean, how great was this, whether you were playing on a sandlot or in the NFL, where you knew you could throw a dump pass to a guy, and, the guy's going to bust it for 50 yards every now and then. And, you don't have to risk, throwing the ball into triple coverage and all this stuff, because this guy has moves on top of moves at the line of scrimmage. And that's all you need, right? I mean, he gives you that little head fake one way and cuts inside, and boom, the throw's there. And now he's on his own running free in kind of an open secondary. It has to be a real luxury for a quarterback to even think about. Like, I would imagine you can't wait to get to the ballpark if you're Tua.
Well, you're excited about going to practice every day because you're going against a really good defense. And if you're moving the football and completing passes and feel like you're handling yourself against your own defense, it's going to be easier on Sundays. Going up against this defense on a daily basis and trying to figure out, okay, if I'm Tua, where's the man coverage at? Because I'm going to go attack the man coverage. And if it's all zone, that's fine too. I can be patient, deliver the football on time, have some running to help you out, because they're going to face a lot of teams that are going to have two safeties, away from the line of scrimmage, because they're going to have to play a lot of zone against this team.
They're going to need 12 men on the field, I think.
Exactly. It helps you run
rule
the football.
Change. Yeah.
It's going to help this team run the football just with the presence of that speed alone, and how they set up in different formations.
When TiVo brought up Tua, and that's the other funny thing from last week, was now no excuses. It's like, okay, like, thank you. Like, all the pressure's on him, wasn't it? He got crap when he was out from injury. He got crap when he was getting hammered within 2 seconds. He's going to get crap regardless. Wouldn't he rather have the thoughts and the negativity with talent? I'm thinking if anyone's happy by these moves, it's Tua. He's not like, oh, darn it, now they gave me talent. Like, I feel like if anyone's like, oh, thank God, it's Tua. Like, good. You're gonna hate on me anyways. Now at least I have talent around me to show what I can do.
Guys, it's the position of quarterback. Just look around the National Football League. I mean, do you think Russell Wilson is bad or Matt Ryan is bad? I mean, look at all these quarterback moves. Everybody's moving around. It's all the quarterback. You always have that pressure. No matter if you're on a team like the Jets and you've got a rookie quarterback, they're expecting big things out of him in his second year, right? You always have that pressure applied to the position. Tua is going to be no different. But I'd rather be Tua than the young guy in New York, because look at the talent that has been amassed, and look at the defense you're playing with, and look at the home field advantage of playing at Hard Rock Stadium in September and October. I just think that, it's starting to all fall into place. Yeah, it comes down to how Tua plays, but for me, it's still how this offensive line plays, because if they can improve, it's going to make everybody better. That 2.3 seconds, if it turns into 2.8 or 3.2 for Tua, that's another luxury. I think this Dolphin offense is starting to be built and is built now the way the Alabama offense was built for Tua. You've got better players than you're going up against. You have matchup nightmares. You can potentially run the football because you're going to have a scheme that's going to allow you to do it. And every week you should be the favorite. I mean, except if you go against Buffalo, which that margin is starting to, slim a little bit on paper. You should have the advantage of being able to score more points than your opposition. And you've got a good defense to keep them off the scoreboard. So it's starting to match up a little bit like what Tua felt like at Alabama on paper. Now, this has to go through the preseason and OTAs and get ready for the regular season. But, you go out and get Armstead at tackle, you're crossing your fingers he's going to be able to make it through the whole season. That's probably the biggest concern of the offensive line. You go get Williams from Dallas. That locks up the left side of the offensive line. Now you got a battle royale on the right side, because you got Robert Hunt and hopefully Liam Eichenberg that can step over and play in his second year and feel like those guys are good. Now, I haven't mentioned Austin Jackson, who was your first-round draft choice from a couple years ago. Is he morphed into what Jesse Davis was going to be? I can play right tackle. I can play left tackle. I can play left guard. I can play this. You need a guy like that. But as a first-round draft choice, you don't want a guy like that because you're admitting you failed. So maybe he's not around. I don't know. But this offensive line should be better because of the additions they made in free agency.
Well, it's like you can have one sort of missing link, but you have improved at 40% of the offensive line positions. There's only five. There are only 5 players up there, and 2 of them are real good that you just acquired in free agency. We know that. And, as you mentioned, people are always high on this Robert Hunt guy. Every time I see him, he's limping off the field. But, he's supposed to be very good. So I've actually zeroed in on him a few times. I guess, he shows more promise than the average Dolphin offensive lineman.
I think there's going to be competition up there. You've got Kinley, you've got Jones, you've probably got a couple other guys that are on the roster. I haven't looked. Yeah, you're going to probably draft another guy or get another guy that's an undrafted free agent that are, all of a sudden this guy from Middle Tennessee State is going to be, the answer at right tackle. You're going to find guys like that, not only in the draft this year, but guys that don't get signed that all of a sudden you keep around the roster and 2 years later he's your starter.
And when you have 2 guys that are good at their job, doesn't it make everyone else's job easier? Doesn't allow, like, if Hunt was solid last year with garbage around him, wouldn't he be even better with 2 guys where it's like, okay, good, we don't have to worry about that. They don't need help. Doesn't that make everyone else's job easier, and doesn't that make them better in a sense?
Well, I think with the change in offensive line coach, change in head coach and philosophy on offense to more of a zone running scheme, I think it's getting those guys to work as one. I think it's going to take repetition and OTAs and training camp to be where you want to be. But I think just the scheme alone is going to take some pressure off of a man, man against man, trying to move a guy against his will, where you have the scheme that works together in unison, and the speed at running back, which they've acquired, I think will help tremendously. You get Chase Edmonds and you get, Mostert. So you've got guys that are blazers that can hit a hole and get through the other side of it. So you only need a small crack. And if that offensive line is playing in that zone scheme, maybe it helps out that running game that much more.
We need to bring back Joe Philbin to coach O-line. Saw some clips of him. I forget what team he's with now, but surprisingly, he was the antithesis of the Joe Philbin that we knew as a head coach. He was like cursing and swearing. And, looked like one of those real old school guys, that was coaching O-line in the 50s. He was great. But, and I also this all, maybe it happened by, circumstance or almost, blind luck or mistake. But I like the fact we have this sort of savant of a coach who's quoting Khalil Gibran and, talking about, how he's going to make everything flow. And he seems like maybe, he's the right guy to put that thing together, as opposed to some old school hardline guy that was going to go by a lot of conventional stuff. I mean, you have all of this freak talent now that you can go ahead and exploit. So I'm in. You know what, John? They got me. I'm going to go Segredo and say they go no less than 11-6. I think the over-under number is 11 for the Dolphins.
Is that what it is right now?
I think 10 and a hook. I think 10 and a hook.
Wow. Well,
but you have to factor in that it's an extra game now, So
that's
obviously
true.
that number is not as staggering as it might have seemed.
The AFC is insane. Like every good quarterback's in the
Yeah.
AFC right now.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, you want to go through the
difficult
schedule
road.
and see what games we think they're going to win and lose. I always love doing it.
Oh, it's great when you look back and you go, "How could I be so stupid?"
Well, no, I mean we have no idea who's going to show up that day.
No.
I mean, it always amazes me. Poor Tony used to have to do that on the news. You remember? And, the schedule would come out and he'd have to, they would go, okay, the war in Ukraine is escalated to the point where we're almost ready to push the nuclear button. But here's Tony Segredo. The Dolphin schedule came out. And he would go through all of the games and go like, Buffalo, we're going to win that one. Jets at home. Yeah, we got that. We're 2-0. And you're like, how the hell would you know? I mean,
I know. I do that every year, though, Defo. I do it every year.
Yeah.
Before the season this past year at Channel 4, we had to have our picks. So Kim Bokamper and myself, and I think it was Mike Cunio. And before we go live, everybody's, hey, what are you picking? We want to build a graphic. The producer and the director in the studio. What do you want? So I think Mike Cunio said the Dolphins are going to be 12 and whatever it was.
Yeah, because they're never going to say they're going to be
Kim
like
Bokamper had
10.
11 wins, and I said 9. Yep. And they were like, we can't put that up there. We can't put that up there. And I said,
I was
saying I was really thinking 8. But I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give 9.
Yeah.
So they finally convinced me that I had to go double digits because there was 12, 11. So I put 10 up there, but I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it.
See, and that's just wrong, right? They hire you for your expertise. You hit the number right on the head, and nobody would have figured that when they were 1-7. You would have thought, wow, 9 wins, absolutely impossible. But, the fact that these other guys were just flat out shilling for the Dolphins is the kind of thing that unfortunately it makes that whole exercise worthless. Yeah, Tony used to have them no worse than 10-6 every year in the 16-game season. So but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Like Lubie mentioned and you were saying the AFC this year has any number of really, really good teams.
No matter how good the Dolphins are on paper, they have to figure out a way to split with the Bills if they're going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay. Even if you sweep New England and the Jets, you have to find a way.
Which is no guarantee.
Which is no guarantee, right?
Yeah.
So you have to figure out one win against the Bills may get you over the hump. If they go 0-2 again next year, no matter how the games shake out, they're going to be a game short. You got to beat the Bills once.
You would think. I mean, they're gearing up for it. So, all right, they sold me. We'll talk some more about what's going on around the National Football League. A lot of changes have taken place. And, of course, the Dolphins became a very, very interesting item when they got Tyreek Hill, which kind of came out of nowhere. You know what? And we'll get into this in the next segment because Jason Cole was telling us that it really did. I thought they had this ingenious plan. And there was this story going around, John, which you were probably well aware of and maybe even had some insight beyond what was on the surface there, that this Tyreek Hill thing was going to happen. It was part of a master plan, but it just fell out of nowhere, according to Jason Cole, where all of a sudden the Chiefs started shopping this guy, and I think it boiled down to the Jets and the Dolphins to get him. And, if you were the Jets, you would have thought it was worth it to go ahead and maybe even outdo the Dolphins in terms of I guess it was what they delivered in the trade. The Dolphins offered more, but just to keep them away from Miami if you're the
Right.
Jets, because now Miami has to be high up on a pedestal as compared to where the Jets stand this year going into the second year with Zach Wilson. All right, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. You can't go wrong there. Now, I would think if you weren't on a golf course, John Kajemi, your next move would have been the next thing that voice in your head was telling you is let's take the family down to the Big Chill. Because what an ideal weekend it was for it.
Oh,
huh?
my God.
Yeah, the first phone call I would have made would have been to my brother to say, "Hey, we're on the way. Can you get
Yeah.
that Fisherman's Pizza
Woo!
rolling? We'll be there in about
Yeah.
45 minutes." Yeah, and it had to be an exciting time in the newly renovated sports bar as well because the Hurricanes were on.
Wow.
You had the Elite Eight going. You had the match play. It was a great weekend for sports, and you've got the Masters coming up as well in a couple of weeks. So I think the Big Chill, the sports bar, is going to be well occupied and overserved, having some fun in there. And then you can go, 10, 12, 15 yards due south of the sports bar, and you can sit down and elegantly dine inside the dining room or go outside to the tiki bar and have something to eat and put your feet up and have a nice drink and look at the pool and the cabanas and look at the bayside views of Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill because it's spectacular.
Well, sometimes, too, you think of the service in the Keys, and while the people are all, very genuinely nice, maybe it isn't the most rapid, if you will, or timely. And yet at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, I mean, you order a drink, you don't have to, sit by the pool for another 2 hours, baking in the sun before that drink comes out. It's like they're right on top of it. It's
Yeah,
great.
the service is first class, and I know my sister-in-law Amanda does a great job down there with Larry running the whole show, and it's a first-class place. So you feel like you've gone, to a different place in the Keys because there's not many places in the Keys that are like Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. With the accommodations, with the first-class service, with spectacular food and sights and sounds on the weekend. You have live music, so it's just a place to be if you want to just go and kind of relax and kick back, listen to some tunes on the outside, or watch some sports inside the sports bar on the inside, or have some great food, for lunch or dinner. It's a great place to be.
Well staffed. I mean, that was one of the impressive things. It wasn't like that place. Sometimes you're in the Keys and you feel like you're waiting for a drink in the Bahamas, right? Where the guy never looks at you
There's
for like
no
an
ice
hour.
in my drink. Well, it was when I started over to you. Yeah,
Exactly.
All right, John Kajemi, many things to discuss. Having a good time talking a little football here. Although, I don't know. I should be out campaigning for Dolphin season tickets,
I'm
as a
probably trying
seller.
to think about how we get there because we haven't gone in a few years. It's like, all right, we're back. Hi.
How about
I may have to apply for
Dolphins?
some credentials here and
I
go to a
know.
game, but John, what
The
do you
Dolphins
think?
hooked my brother-in-law, and he's as soon as they signed Tyreek Hill, he called for season tickets.
Really?
So the
Wow.
phone's ringing off the hook.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good. It's about time there was some enthusiasm for this franchise that was legit, and where you can actually say, "Oh, okay." I mean, if this doesn't work out, then it was
Not much
not
will.
for a lack of
You
trying
tried.
something that appeared to be of sound. Foundation. All right, John Kajemi, more with John coming up here. Dateline Dolphins on Appeal Yourself Off the Map Monday. That's Mike Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForrest. And we'll continue here on Jack Namer's fine Eye on channel. And always grateful for the opportunity to be using this platform here, streaming audio and video around the world. Google The Defo Show. We had a lot of great conversations prior to the Hurricanes game with Jim Larinaga, including last week. And we're going to try and get him on a show later this week, John. Unfortunate, man. I mean, I was thinking, I actually had this thought. I thought, you know what, these first 5 minutes will be the story of the game. If the Canes can kind of stave them off here, then it'll be great. But are you a fan of the movie Cinderella Man?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
All right, remember he's fighting Max Baer in the big title fight, the climactic, bout of the whole movie there. And, Bear's been just fooling around the first couple of rounds there, laughing at the guy. And then all of a sudden he has this, like, mean look on his face as he comes off the stool, like he's ready to kill the guy. And, that's kind of what happened there in the second half with Kansas. My God, I mean, whatever they gave him at halftime, did they check these guys for drugs? What happened?
I only caught bits and pieces of the highlights.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking at the score on my phone. I was like, the Canes are handling themselves at halftime. I said, they got a lead. They must
great.
be, up tempo. They must be hitting all their shots and playing good defense, because Kansas, I think, was in the 20s. They scored 28 or 29 points.
It was
at
36-30. Yeah, 36-30.
Yeah. Right. So second half was a tale of two halves, and that's why they're so highly
46-14. Yeah, 46-14 in the second half. If that happened in the first half, you could have spared yourself, the agony. But wow, I mean, a good run by Jim Larrañaga. It's funny because we don't give any consideration for finishing second, right? You win the championship and everybody's euphoric, and the whole city is rocking. And the team that finished second is treated like a bunch of dogs, like they were veterans coming back from Vietnam, right? And guys are spitting on them at the airport. It's crazy. Yeah. But this was a run to be applauded. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, Elite Eight.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was great. All right, coming back with more with John Congemi here on the Defo Show in just a moment. Now that
the time.
Ugly second half, though. My God.
Yeah.
It's 8:40. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
Dolphins with John Congemi, and that's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in the Keys, and we're looking very much forward to doing some broadcasts there. I think we're going to head down there like once a month during the football season. I have to ask you this, and feel free to, not necessarily spill the beans from a personal standpoint to your good friend Dan Marino. Does he experience, or did he ever experience nightmares about handing the ball off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that one year when Jimmy insisted on running the ball on every play? And it was always, the announcer, I think it was Ron St. John, was a stadium announcer back then, and you could hear him say, hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 3rd and 8. Did he ever talk about that?
No, he's never really talked about that, Defo. But you're right. I think they did have that on loop at whatever the stadium was called at that time.
It was 1 yard every time. And it was a generous 1 yard they were giving him statistically.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Peeling yourself off the mat Monday. Having a great time as always on these Mondays. Going Dateline Dolphins with the great John Congemi, longtime analyst on ESPN. Played quarterback at Pitt, followed in the footsteps of the great Dan Marino, and an all-around good guy, and also our golf commentator here on the show. And we delved into a little bit of basketball there. Great story. Mike Lubitz is with me. I'm Jeff Deforrest here on Ion Channel. All right, so many things. I don't know. Did you catch this? First, I have to ask you though. I mean, if you saw the clip there with Will Smith and
I did
the
not.
right hand to Chris Rock.
You haven't seen it?
No, I hadn't seen it.
I should show it now.
Okay, all right. Because it's weird. I mean, we know this, that Chris Rock can take a punch, and there was more evidence that one was landed there than there was in the Clay Liston fight. in Lewiston, Maine. Ollie Liston, too. Because, I mean, he landed this thing, man, and Rock just shook it off. I mean, literally, you would have thought it was The Rock.
What happened? Paint the picture for me. Like,
I mean, Rock made a joke about Will Smith's wife as he was introducing these guys for Best Actor. And he said, and she has a problem, like a disease. What is it called again?
And alopecia. I guess it makes her hair weird, so she just keeps her head bald so it doesn't grow in patches, I guess.
So she shaved her head, and, it became like sort of a little bit of a cause. Like, and it's always good when people that suffer from this sort of thing don't feel like they have to have the need to hide it. So that's where a celebrity, being kind of an out front person, spokesperson for, hey, don't disparage us for, being bald headed. This is something we can't help, and we're very sensitive about it. Whatever. So Rock said something about it. The movie G.I. Jane. It was an awful movie with Demi Moore where she shaved her head. And that was like the only interesting part of the movie was seeing Demi Moore bald. Because you used to her with the hair and everything, and running around with Bruce Willis, and then later on, Ashton Kutcher was her longtime mate. But I mean, it's Chris Rock, right? If I say something, John, you realize, hey, the guy's a clown.
It's Defo.
I don't mean any harm. I mean, maybe it didn't come out right or whatever, or probably who knew. Like we often talk about. I mean. And this, fortunately, was a long time ago, and it was the last time it happened to me, but it probably won't be, the last forever. Where I asked a friend of mine, I was, talking with his wife and a friend of mine, and he was a sales guy at a radio station. We were having a remote, and, I asked him, hey, when's the baby due? And she wasn't pregnant. and that's like, I mean, I'm sure you've had that happen, and not necessarily that specifically, but where you're like, oh shit,
yeah, that's it. check, please.
Yeah, you feel awful. Yeah. I mean, hey, thank you, Cleveland. Like that ad goes for the Southwest Airlines.
Detroit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he made a joke about her, being in like the remake of G.I. Jane. Which just a thought alone presenting this, I thought that's what Will Smith was mad about, was that, they would remake this movie, which was awful. But he took offense, because she has this alopecia. And, he went up there and he smacked Chris Rock.
In the middle of the
he got out of his seat and walked up and
walked up to the stage, smacked the guy in the face, and then sat back down. He put the camera on him and he started cursing the guy out. So you were thinking this wasn't like some, Andy Kaufman deal where you didn't know if it was real or not,
Wow.
But how can you be mad at Chris Rock? It's impossible.
I've got to take a look at that. I got to see that.
You got to see it everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all over everything.
Yeah, I was watching the Panthers last night, so I didn't get to take in the Oscars. But that's weird. You would think everything is okay because it's only meant in jest in terms of just putting on the show, and Chris Rock's doing it, and he's going to say something over the line at some point. It's going to be
they're paying him to do that. Yeah,
exactly. But that's why he's there.
Yeah, and he's not really an overwhelmingly offensive, I don't think, comedian. I mean, he's just genuinely funny, and I think well within the boundaries of good taste. I don't know. I mean, am I wrong about that? Chris Rock doesn't strike. He's not like Sam Kinison or something that's just screaming curse words, the entire time. Which even Sam Kinison was funny as hell. I mean, so you're
right there. To the point you make, that's why they're paying those guys to do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Ease up, Will.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And then how did they know that was Will Smith? I mean, maybe it was some guy that was a plot to kill Chris Rock because he was, a Russian sympathizer or something. I don't know. I mean, how did security just let this guy roll up there and smack the guy?
Right.
That's insane. But so that was you'll see that. I'm sure it'll be on news clips. It even eclipsed the ridiculous. And who wears these outfits anywhere else but on the red carpet? Like you see some of this stuff, John. I mean, you're looking at some fabulous looking babes and very famous actresses, but who's making these outfits? Who would pay for those outfits?
The people atrocious, that are at the Oscars. That's about it. Yeah. Yeah.
You never see them anywhere else. You'll never see like these women going out to dinner. They'll never wear this again. I mean, it's like Lady Gaga to an exponent of like a zillion. Crazy stuff.
Well, they love it the night they wear it the next day. Get rid of this. Where am I going to? I don't need this.
Probably
anymore.
goes back to the pawn shop that they got it from.
Yes.
I don't know where would you find atrocious fashion like that? It's incredible to me. All right. So speaking of women, Deshaun Watson, he had the press conference there, and the Haslams didn't show up, even though they were strong advocates of the idea that they feel that Deshaun Watson is much closer to a model citizen than a guy that should be implicated in 22 civil sexual assault lawsuits. Now there were no criminal charges. They said they researched this thing, immensely, the Cleveland Browns, and they believed Deshaun Watson, probably, is just getting a bad raw deal from all of these women. They all, joined forces and ganged up against him.
All of them.
What did you make of all of this, John Kajemi? I mean, what would be your feeling if you were a fan of the Cleveland Browns?
Well, it's a tough thing because all the criminal stuff seems like it's past him now. Now you have these 22 civil suits, and there's 22 people kind of saying the same thing. If you're ownership, you do your due diligence, you do your investigations, but really it's all going to come down to if one or two or three of these things have to be paid in terms of this Deshaun Watson. The Browns kind of covered themselves because I think they're paying him just over $1 million in the first year of this contract.
Yeah.
So whatever, time that he potentially misses, if something goes awry from now until September, he'll be on the shelf just for that $1 million, and the fines or whatever will be taken out of that. I don't know. I don't know. This is a hard one because it's people accusing him of something and he's saying that he had nothing to do with it, but you've got 22 people singing the same chorus line, right? So
I believe
it's a tough
maybe
one a tough one to investigate if you're the Browns to say we've come to the conclusion that nothing really happened when you still have all these people that are kind of walking the same story.
It's weird. I mean, I guess, I don't know, am I making this up, or did I see that part of this thing was that Deshaun Watson's position was that a lot of whatever these women are accusing him of was consensual. That there was no, he wasn't assaulting them or whatever, or is he? I don't know if he's denying that anything ever happened. The weirdest part of the case is that he had like 47 different massage therapists
like 100
in the span of 3 weeks. I mean,
well, don't you guys?
Don't you usually? I get a haircut from the same guy. I would imagine you do too, right?
Exactly.
You find somebody you like, you stick with them.
You stick with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a creature of habit in that regard. I hate to change. I'll go to any extreme just to keep the same consistency because you can trust a guy, and you're not driving back from some hair salon looking in the side mirror going, "My God, I look like crap." But that's a curious aspect of it, and yet, I mean, the Browns organization seemed very convincing in the idea that after thorough research into all of this, which the lawyer for the 22 women with the civil suits is saying that he was never asked by anybody any questions.
Exactly.
Nor were any of the people who I guess, I don't know, maybe they're off limits because they're going to be deposed in these civil suits.
Right.
But they seem pretty confident that nothing was going to come of this, and they made that contingency, as you said, in the contract. But it is a weird thing because, the NFL really does its best to represent the idea that they are big pro-women advocates and, very much have women's equality and diversity on their mind. And then they have the Washington Redskins. So I don't know. I mean, it's laced with hypocrisy. I don't know what they end up doing with Deshaun Watson. But, I mean, in all of these moves with the quarterbacks, what do you think will be? And we can include Tua in this because of the moves that were made to help him, not just the fact that, he's still with the same team, but wow, what a difference a year makes. But you have like Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. You now have Deshaun Watson with the Cleveland Browns.
Russell Wilson in Denver.
Russell Wilson in Denver, is another one that I keep overlooking because I don't know. I wasn't a big fan, of the Denver Broncos. I didn't see where they were all that great, but maybe was I missing something there? Are they really on the cusp, on the precipice, John Congemi, of being great with Russell Wilson?
I didn't know. I didn't think so either, Defo. But I mean, a quarterback of that caliber can make you a lot better. I think they do have some electric wide receivers. They have the big kid that came out of SMU a couple years ago, Cortland Sutton or something like that, and then they have a small receiver in the slot that's much like Jalen Waddle with speed. So they have some pieces. They have a good running game. Offensive line's pretty good. Defensively, they lost a few in free agency, but Russell Wilson can make a difference. That's for sure, because I think he's one of the most talented guys, playing the position, and his experience. The turnover was the big thing with Drew Lock. It seemed like for Denver, they'd be going along pretty well, but if you turn it over as many times as you make good plays, sometimes it doesn't work out all that way and that well for you, and you're a 500 team. And that's basically, Denver was a little bit below that for the tenure over the last 6-7 years. Just
never seemed like the answer, Drew Lock.
No.
Even when he was drafted, you were like, really, Drew Lock? That guy's going to be a franchise saver? I'm not sure. It seemed like a stretch.
I thought the biggest non-story. How about this rumor about Tom Brady coming to the Dolphins?
Oh,
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, the Boston guy who predicted that he'd go to Tampa.
Oh yeah, this is the guy that predicted the end of the world in 1983.
Maybe Giselle said, "You know what, Tom? You can come back, but we're building a house in Indian Creek. So if you come back, you got to play for the Dolphins now."
Well, Brady with this team would be unbelievable.
Yeah,
you would automatically pencil him in for Super Bowl appearance. I believe that Tua's skills will be enhanced greatly by the lineup that they have, because he sort of would appear to have a certain amount of symmetry with this type of lineup, where you need to get the ball quickly to a guy. You know how this is, John, having played the position. People always thought, even if you're playing recreational football, right, you would think, hey, you don't have to wait till I'm 30 yards down the field to throw a long pass. I mean, the second I have a step on a guy, I want the ball delivered. And Tua's good at that. I mean, he seems like he could really get acclimated to the idea that, if he looks one way and then looks back, I mean, you're looking at either Tyreek Hill or Waddle. And then, Gesicki is a viable. That guy seemed to have a real chemistry with Tagovailoa last year, even though the circumstances were obviously far more adverse.
Well, Gesicki's catch radius is so large, you can get it close to him, no matter if it's in man coverage or zone coverage, and you're going to get a reception. I think the other way of looking at it is what you're talking about, getting rid of the football quickly. These guys are so fast in and out of breaks that they create the separation that is required in the National Football League. There's not a lot of guys running wide open.
Yeah.
Very rarely, unless it's a busted coverage, do you see guys running free in the National Football League. It's always, a tight window to deliver the football, and you have to be accurate with your ball location. And Tua, that accentuates what he does well, right? Get rid of the football, put it in a location where your guy can get it and not only catch it, but run after catch. Yep. That's what you're going to see with, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson. Those guys make plays. They make yards after the catch. And that's going to be pivotal in this offense. It's not the big plays down the field, but it's going to be the medium to intermediate plays that are made. And how many times can you see him break a tackle or continue out of a route around the defender and just go down the sidelines for big yards?
And you have to load if you're a quarterback when you have guys that also, in addition to being able to create plays like that, can wrestle the ball away in tough spots. I mean, all of those guys are really good at that. I just, Tyreek Hill is very good at winning those wrestling matches when he is covered and he comes down with the ball, like our good friend O.J. McDuffie did for many years for your man, Dan Marino, where, there are three guys around him, but who comes down with the ball? Your guy.
Yeah.
And you can take a few chances there, and, that makes a big difference, turns bad plays into good ones. Lubie would have refused to admit this, but Julian Edelman was extremely good at that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Including that play in a Super Bowl, which is one of the most remarkable game-saving catches, even though it wasn't ultimately the winning play. Man, remember that when there were like four guys and the ball came off his shoe, off his nose, went up in the air, and hit a sprinkler system and shot up there like a geyser, and it came down, and somehow with three guys all around him while he was on the ground, he comes up with the ball. And those Dolphin receivers have that, and any team that has that, Cooper Kupp, is one of those guys that always wins those wrestling matches. And so to have a few of those guys on your roster as opposed to just a bunch of guys that look like they dip their hands in baby oil is, a real luxury, I would think. All right, more golf on the horizon for you, John Kajemi, and I want you to start, fine-tuning with that research that you did on the sabermetrics with the release of Tua and the timing and the seconds and everything. I want that same element of research to go into the pool for the Masters tournament.
We have a couple weeks to talk about it, so we need to get together on this one. I just don't want to
sheets will come out next week. Yeah,
all right. So we'll Scotty Scheffler, he's got to be at the top of your list.
Has to be.
Kevin Kisner, DJ's playing well.
What about Victor Hovland? Are we going with Victor Hovland?
Yeah, you that was your guy.
Yeah,
right? You like Victor Hovland.
I don't know. I mean, is he going to cool off? I'm not sure. And where do we put Brooks, the king of the majors? Brooks Koepka, Lubie's guy.
I don't know. I don't know about the Masters for
he's been out of it.
No,
I don't know.
Not the same guy, huh?
U.S. Opens, it seems like the tougher the golf course, the better he plays. But I don't know. The Masters and that golf course for him, shaping it right to left, left to right, it's going to be tougher for Brooks to win at Augusta, I think.
All right. And, he hasn't really been playing all that great. I mean, his results aren't fantastic. I mean, buried me in that Tournament Players Championship with a +9 on opening day. My God. What was I telling you, John? You need guys that are going to make the cut.
Just make the cut, right.
And I got a +9 guy.
But you're right. The weather did play a huge factor in that because everybody was waiting around. And if you were in the morning wave, you were probably going to make the
home
cut.
Free. Yeah. You were definitely home free on that. All right. Who are you picking to win the basketball tournament? You have, Villanova and Kansas in one game, and then Duke, North Carolina, big ACC rivals in the other one.
Boy, Kansas looked so good in that second half. I think it would be Kansas. And I don't think Duke's going to I don't think Coach K is going to get there. I think North Carolina's got their number.
Wow, North Carolina. Now, let's see. Yeah, the last game, of course, North Carolina won.
Yep.
And I believe that they split the two games before that or the one
I don't remember.
Yeah, did they split the two games during the regular season, and then they didn't meet in the ACC tournament. So, yeah. All right, so we'll see. I mean, all right, so you're picking Kansas to go all the way?
Yes.
Kansas? Okay.
Yes.
All right, John Kajemi, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, we thank them. Still working on Tommy Fox there. We have to make our appearance down there before the Schwitz season
next week
really gets underway in like July and August. And, we get all kinds of rain possibilities and things like that. But always a good time to be down there. And, John, you have a great week. Great stuff as always. Always fun having you on the show.
Yeah, it was fun, guys. Enjoy the week, and talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. John Kajemi, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that was fun, Mike Lubie.
That was
a lot of different
tremendous.
things there. Yeah, a lot of stuff. I didn't get to my Atlantic City return story.
We'll have to table it for tomorrow. The longest tease ever.
There you go. It's always good to have some
did you just get back last week? Last Monday, you just got back.
Just got back Monday. Actually, Monday night.
Monday when you got back.
There's a compelling reason why we're going back. It's a stupid reason, but a compelling reason. Okay. All right, so we'll get into that. And I mean, you're tempting the not only the gods of fate, but you are absolutely spitting in the face of the gods of gambling. Is that a good thing? I mean, I don't care how well you're rolling. Had another royal flush on a video poker machine the other day.
Nice.
At a local casino on my way out from a winning day at the track. I mean, all of a sudden I pick up another dime and I'm thinking, easy game.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine, the crush job, you're up 6 with the Hurricanes at halftime. You're getting 6 in a hook. And you're thinking, could they lose the second half by 10 points? They were in there. They were punching, man. That was, it was Gotti Ward in that first half. It was great. And it looked like Kansas wasn't on their game at all. And the Canes were playing and taking it to him. Bold fashion, huh? McGusty was on fire.
Yep.
They kept feeding him. And what's the guy's name? Waldenberg or something like that? Wardenberg, yeah. He was playing good ball, but got in foul trouble, and, he went out. But it was already over at that point. I mean, the second half blitzkrieg was just incredible. And, emphatic also. I mean, Kansas was dunking in their face. And the Canes couldn't make anything. I mean, hoisted up, settled for a lot of three-pointers once the lead got to be double digits, and really just faded into Mike Tyson territory of Bolivian. So unfortunate end to a great, great Cinderella run by Jim Larinaga. We'll try to get Jim on the show. I hope he'll come on. I think he will.
I'm trying.
So we'll have that for you. We'll give you the announcement on that and put it up on our social media, which, of course, is an enormous enormous reach there between Lubie and me and the people on Ion Channel. Thanks to the Ion Channel people for providing us with the platform. Great being here on a Monday. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll have Brett Tester, the agent of the stars, hopefully connect with Harvey. He's been covering the Miami Open. I don't know if he's going to be busy. Okay. I guess that was because the local beat reporter for tennis, Michelle Kaufman of the Miami Herald, was in Chicago with the Hurricanes. She also covers the Hurricanes. So she might be back on a tennis beat. But great stuff from Harvey. Did you see some of his articles? Too cheap to pay the dollar. Yeah, too cheap to pay the dollar to get the Herald. And it's obnoxious the way they attack you with that, right? You punch on a thing that's on Facebook, you're figuring, okay, I should be able to read this. And then before you even get into it, all of a sudden they freeze your computer screen, and then you have to call a number to get it unfrozen. And the only way to do that is to subscribe to the freaking paper. Get the bleep out of here.
All right.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Meanwhile, I'm an ink-stained wretch from a New York Post. Exactly. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, Lubie. Great job as always. A lot of fun having the program this morning with you. Kill yourself off on Monday. I think we did it in fine style. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Always appreciate the feedback we're getting on the show, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 as we leave you know that. The time. And always a special thanks, Frankie and the people at Hialeah Park. It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.